Chapter 252. Okay, Nye Zhanghai took a deep breath, pulled out the dagger, and stabbed it into his heart again. Master Kong, can you let go of my Nye family? Nye Zhanghai spat out blood and smiled miserably. You're scaring me. Jiang Tian laughed and patted his chest. Then he smiled meaningfully. When did I say I'll let go of your Nye family? I'm going to wipe out your Nye family and leave no one alive. You're going to watch them die one by one. What? You went back on your word. Nye Zhanghai glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. He staggered to his feet and fell to the ground again. Hearing this, Yi Gufeng, Dragon Fifth, Zhou Zhenghao, and the others' expressions changed drastically. They all shuddered. To be honest, although Jiang Tian was strong before, he would never kill the innocent. Today, however, he was a bit too ruthless. Jiang Tian, you dared to kill my father. I want revenge. I want to kill you. In the crowd, a 7- or 8-year-old child suddenly stood up. His face was full of hatred and gloominess. He pointed at Jiang Tian and cursed. Very good, you've got guts. As expected of Nye Zhanghai's son. You know how to take revenge at such a young age. You're a bit ambitious. Jiang Tian praised with a smile. Uncle wanted to let you go, but I can't give you a chance now. Su Ruoqing frowned. She quickly stepped forward, grabbed the child, and threw him to the ground. Jiangdan, fuck you, the child screamed in pain from the fall. He even cursed half a sentence, but he couldn't do anything after that. Because Su Ruoqing's long saber had already chopped down. The child's head flew off and fell to the ground. He couldn't be more dead. My son. Nye Zhanghai wailed and glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. You're a demon. This was the youngest son of his mistress. He had always been very cute, but now he died an unnatural death. Hey, you even know my nickname. Are you my long-lost kindergarten classmate? Jiang Tian let out a hearty laugh as he shot out a few silver needles and hit them on Nye Zhanghai, Nye Mingyuan, Chen Donglin, and Sun Lingyun's major acupoints. This is a life-hanging needle. Even if your heart is pierced through and you lose too much blood, it will keep you awake and alive until the last drop of blood flows into your body. Jiang Tian stood up lazily with his hands behind his back and smiled leisurely. In the process, you will suffer physical torture. Also, you will be able to enjoy the wonderful pictures of your wives, children, and parents being killed one by one. As he spoke, he slowly walked outside and said with a smile, Everyone, please enjoy this carnival-like night of slaughter. This is a rare opportunity. Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all. With a cold expression, he left without looking back. Don't leave a single one alive. Even Dragon the Fifth, Zhou Zhenghao, Bai Chou Fei, and the other ruthless members of the society shuddered. Truly ruthless enough. What kind of person was Jiang Tian? Taichu Immortal Venerable was a nickname given to those of the same path. Back then, he swept through the universe and killed countless people, dyeing the starry sky with blood. More often than not, he was called Taichu Old Demon and Starry Sky Butcher. It could be said that the ordinary people of the boundless universe were nothing more than ants and dust in his eyes. If he killed them, then he killed them. How could they cause the slightest ripple in his heart? So what if he slaughtered 3 families? After Jiang Tian left, Su Ruoqing walked towards the kneeling people with a knife and said indifferently, apart from Nye Mingyuan and the 3 family heads, let everyone else die a quick death. She slashed down, and Nye Mingyuan's 18-year-old daughter fell into a pool of blood, her neck broken. Since Master Kong has given the order, then let's start. Zhou Zhenghao rubbed his fists with excitement in his eyes. Kill to your heart's content. There are dozens of people. Bai Chou Fei also took out a long knife and approached the crowd. He had often killed people over the years. If he didn't kill people, how could he get to the top and succeed? Looking at the 5,000 years of Huaxia's history, for those who were truly at the top, most of their grand ambitions had to be accomplished by killing people. As the saying goes, killing one is a crime, slaughtering 10,000 is a hero. Killing 10,000 is a hero among heroes. Everyone began to move, and the entire Nye family villa began to emit waves of heart-wrenching screams, the wailing of children and women, and the helpless begging for mercy. The slaughter began. Heads rolled and blood flowed like a river. The momentum of the three families was gone, and no one was spared. There were actually hundreds of people inside and outside the Nye family villa. Su Ruoqing had more than 100 fierce people from many clubs under the Banana Club. There were also the capable people that Dragon Fifth and Zhou Zhenghao had mobilized from Jiangbei and Bai Chou Fei from Lingnan's Flying Cloud Club. It could be said that they had surrounded the Nye family's villa so tightly that not even a fly could fly out. With so many experts attacking together, it was simply a one-sided massacre. They didn't encounter any decent resistance. Thanks to Nye Zhanghai's idea of escaping overnight, the Chen family and the Sun family were all gathered together, but they were defeated by Jiang Tian and the others. The slaughter lasted for half an hour. Finally, the screams and cries gradually subsided. Bai Chou Fei, who was dripping with blood, stepped out of a room with a long saber. He laughed heartily and said, "Damn, after so many years, this is the first time I've killed people to my heart's content. It's really fucking satisfying. Working for Master Kong is just so satisfying." Su Ruoqing's long saber was bent, and his eyes were full of excitement. "Alas, who told you to provoke Master Kong? Rest in peace, don't open your eyes. It's good to believe in Buddha like me. Your painful life is over. When you reincarnate as a human, you must remember to believe in Buddha." Tang Xiaozi twirled the Buddha beads, put his palms together, and chanted sutras for the dead. He nagged, his face full of compassion and piety. During this process, although Nye Zhanghai and the others were stabbed many times, and blood flowed like water, their consciousness was still clear. They painfully watched their loved ones fall one by one and leave this world. "Miss Ruoqing, what should we do next?" Yi Gufeng looked at the corpses all over the ground. The pungent smell of blood made him very uncomfortable. He frowned and looked at Su Ruoqing. "Mr. Yi, don't worry. Leave everything to me." Su Ruoqing smiled sweetly and clapped her hands. Then, several strong men came out with large barrels of gasoline and poured the inside and outside of the villa. Everyone left the villa. Su Ruoqing picked up a cigarette and her eyes twitched. She glanced at the beautiful villa and sneered, "Don't bully the young for being poor. I didn't expect that the three great families of Jinling would have such a miserable ending." After saying that, she gently flicked the cigarette in her hand. It drew an elegant arc and fell into the gasoline. Boom! There was a loud sound. The beautiful European-style manor suddenly burst into flames one after another, like fireworks in the night sky. So beautiful! Su Ruoqing was intoxicated with admiration. Wow! Suddenly, a figure came out of the flames. He was covered in flames and screamed at the top of his lungs. "Jiang Tian, I won't let you go. I won't let you go. I will take revenge." The person covered in flames was Nye Mingyuan. Everyone looked at Nye Mingyuan in silence, but no one came forward to help him put out the fire. He was covered in flames, rolling and flailing on the ground. The flames gradually died out. However, he gradually passed out on the lawn. "He doesn't seem to be dead. Should we go and finish him off?" Bai Chou Fei's eyes were bloodshot. He wanted to go forward with a long knife. "Forget it. There is still a lot of gasoline left. It will burn you." Yi Gufeng reached out and stopped him. "How long can he last with such a high fever? If we send him to the hospital now, even the gods can't save him." Su Ruoqing said with a disdainful smile. Just like that, everyone stood on the hillside outside the villa, smoking and chatting, watching the flames in the villa burn fiercely. Bai Chou Fei and Tai Minghuang even took out duck neck peanuts and small erguotu to eat with wine. They talked and laughed to their heart's content. After another half an hour, the flames in the villa gradually died out. Then, everyone dispersed. After burning for so long, there was no way anyone could survive. After everyone left, beep, 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 police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances rushed over. "Brothers, take it easy," the fire captain smoked a cigarette and said leisurely, "The higher-ups have ordered us to put out the fire in 8 hours. What's going on? Captain, it's already so hot. There isn't much fire left. We can put it out in half an hour. Yeah, his friends were all stunned, their faces full of confusion. Why do you care so much? Anyway, that's what the higher-ups said. The fire captain took out a set of poker cards and said with a smile, Come, let's play a few rounds of landlord. Come, let's play landlord. Everyone seemed to have understood something. They took off their fire helmets and enthusiastically participated in this activity that was beneficial to their physical and mental health. In the blink of an eye, the sky turned bright. Only then did the firefighters lazily walk into the villa and put out the fire. It only took them 10 minutes to drive back home. The next day, the Jinling Morning News reported that a villa in the western suburbs suddenly caught fire. 5 people died on the spot, and some were injured. This news only lasted for 5 seconds. Other than that, there were no other details. In the early morning of the day after the fire, clatter, a beautiful and slender figure stood outside the Nie family villa. The luggage in her hand suddenly fell to the ground. She stared blankly at the Nie manor, which was now in a complete mess. Her pretty face was filled with shock, and then, sparkling and translucent tears seeped out of her clear eyes. The once beautiful Nie clan, the once beautiful times, had now turned into a pile of dilapidated fences and dilapidated walls, ruins, and black soil. It had vanished into thin air. Mom, big brother, little Yuan, little Feng. The woman's beautiful face was pale. She was full of sorrow and her voice was trembling. Beside her, a tall and handsome young man supported her and asked with concern, Xueman, are you okay? After hearing the news, Nie Xueman, who had just finished her closed-door training, rushed over. It only took her a few hours to fly to the Nie residence. After leaving the airport, she rushed to the Nie residence without stopping. However, she was a step late. She couldn't accept the fact that the Nie residence was in ruins. How could this be? Nie Xueman rushed into the villa as if she had gone crazy. In the ruins, she dug around and finally dug out a petite corpse. Nie Xueman hugged the severely carbonized body. Her delicate body trembled. Tears rolled down her face as she screamed toward the sky. Not far away, the eldest senior brother suddenly shouted, Junior sister, there's a living person here. Chapter 253. Nie Xueman hurriedly ran over. She saw that the man was burned beyond recognition, and there was not a single piece of skin on his body that was intact. He looked like a cracked tree bark. He opened his mouth, but he could only make a meaningless sound. Life-prolonging pill. Nie Xueman hurriedly shouted. Senior brother Li Mubai did not hesitate to feed the man a precious pill that was filled with spiritual energy and fragrance. After a while, the dying man opened his mouth with difficulty. Nie Xueman cried out in surprise with tears in her eyes. She helplessly stroked his cheeks and body. She really couldn't imagine that the person in front of her, who had been burned to the point of looking like charcoal, was actually her suave and handsome nephew. Who did this? Nie Xueman's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. She was in so much pain that she gritted her teeth in hatred. She was only an abandoned daughter adopted by the Nie family. She was not related to Nie Mingyuan by blood. In fact, she was 2 years younger than Nie Mingyuan. When she was in her teenage years, she and Nie Mingyuan had feelings for each other. They were ambiguous and gentle, and there was only one thing that they did not cross. And it's Jiang Tian from the Jiang family. He joined forces with Lingnan's forces and Su Ruoqing to annihilate my entire family, Nie Mingyuan wailed in a trembling voice. Aunt, you must take revenge. Kill Jiang Tian. Kill him. After saying that, Nie Mingyuan fainted again. Jiangtan, I'm going to tear you into pieces. Nie Xueman's beautiful face was filled with a tragic murderous aura. Her body trembled as she shouted loudly with a cruel and bloodthirsty aura. A strong aura was emitted from her seemingly delicate and graceful body. It then spread in all directions. Suddenly, smoke and dust billowed and shattered the floor. Shunan, saving people is more important. Seeing the sharp murderous aura in Nie Xueman's eyes, Li Mubai reminded her gently. But Nie Xueman nodded. Although her family was annihilated and her nephew was seriously injured, Nie Xuemon was eager to take revenge. However, she could not wait to save people. Nie Xuan brought many life-saving medicines from Wudang sect. She used all of them on Nie Mingyuan. Then, she carried Nie Mingyuan and quickly left the ruins, disappearing into the night. Due to the government deliberately blocking the news of the Nie family, Qin family, and Sun family being exterminated was only spread among the fixed social class. However, some of the rich people and high-ranking officials who had been paying close attention to the dispute between the Jiang family and the three big families had also vaguely sensed the truth behind this matter. Everyone was in danger, and they were all frightened out of their wits. We must not provoke the Jiang family. Many families in Jinling held an emergency meeting to discuss countermeasures, and this sentence became the final conclusion, which was regarded as a standard by many big shots. As for the police and other official organizations, after an in-depth and detailed investigation, they quickly denied the possibility of intentional arson and did not file a case. For this fire, they only prepared a simple case, and the file was locked in an extremely secret cabinet. No one was qualified to read it. The case became an unsolved mystery, but it was nothing more than an insignificant wave in the torrent of history. For ordinary citizens, it was just an ordinary fire in the western suburbs of Jinling. A few people died, and it was quickly forgotten. Yu family's villa. In an old and simple office, the windows were clean and the table was clean. Under the light, Secretary Yu was reading a document. "Father, everything has been settled." Yu Chang walked in quickly and said with a smile, "Well, that's good." Nodding his head, Secretary Yu placed the document down and faintly said, "This is a gift that we're giving to Jiang Tian on behalf of the Chao family. In the future, he will understand and shake hands with the Chao family and even work for the country." But Yu Chang wanted to say something but stopped. "You are talking about Nie Xuemen, the disciple of Wu Dang sect." Secretary Yu said with a smile. "Father, you are wise. Hee. What do you think the Nie family is relying on to run amok? Wu Dang sect?" Secretary Yu said lightly, "We left them alive so that Nie Xueman can pass a message to them. Wuxia is a land of no return, and martial artists are not allowed to cause trouble. Otherwise, this will be the consequence." Secretary Yu rose to his feet and exuded a powerful aura. It was as sharp as an unsheathed sword. It was as if this was the true face of a feudal official. But what if Nie Xueman and Wu Dang sect seek revenge on Jiang Tian? Yu Chang asked worriedly. Wuxia has been relying on Jiang Tian to keep the martial arts world under control for the past 30 years. But in the next 30 years, Wuxia will have to rely on Jiang Tian. Secretary Yu said lightly. Kong Teichu is a very talented man. He has reached the peak of transcendent state before the age of 30. Do you think Wu Dang sect will be happy if they declare war on Kong Teichu? I understand now. Yu Chang replied. After a moment of hesitation, he said, according to our sources, the three major families of the Nie family are targeting the Jiang family because of a piece of a map. Piece of a map? What map? Secretary Yu asked curiously. Jiang Tian didn't ask and Nie Zhanghai didn't tell us. But I think the force behind them is the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society. It is the Cherry Blossom Society. Secretary Yu's face contorted in shock. Then he snorted and said, the Cherry Blossom Society is the archenemy of Wuxia's military and the Longtime War. Who would have thought that they would have an agent in Jin City? On the other hand, Nie Zhanghai and the others were originally from Jinling. Bearing the hatred of their country, they were actually willing to be the lackeys of the East Asian people. They deserve to die. Well done, Jiang Tian. After he finished his report, Yu Chang slowly left Secretary Yu's office. Piece of a map? What kind of map could trigger the Cherry Blossom Society? Secretary Yu looked out of the window and pondered for a while. Suddenly, he heaved a sigh and said, I think I should report this to Lord Chao. 2 days had passed since the three major families of Jin City. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian and his father, Yi Ziwei, had returned to Jiang Manor to see Jiang Chang'an. Tian heir, are you the one behind the destruction of the three major families of Jin City? Jiang Changing asked with furrowed brows. Yes, it's me. Jiang Tian did not deny it. Zhang Wanqi knew that the old man was an old-fashioned man, so she quickly spoke up for her son. Old man, you can't blame Jiang Tian for this, I understand. The three great clans harbored evil intentions and wanted to destroy my Jiang clan. Even death cannot wipe out their crimes. However, by doing this, will Jiang Tian attract enemies? Jiang Changing sighed and said worriedly. Grandpa, don't worry. Jiang Tian held Jiang Changing's hand and said with a smile, I've had a fortuitous encounter. I'm not an ordinary person anymore, I know. You can drive away the crimson fire for a long time and make Chao Shixiang treat you with respect. You are definitely not an ordinary person, but... Jiang Changing couldn't help but be a little worried. Fine. Looks like I have to show my strength. Grandpa, look. Jiang Tian sighed helplessly, and then he pressed his fingers together and waved them. A sharp blade light that was around 10 m long swept out. Suddenly, a 3-meter-tall rockery in the courtyard was cut in half and collapsed. Jiang Tian, how did you do that? Is this your trump card? The whole family was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Mom, I was fighting in the bar to protect the reputation of the Medicine King group. Jiang Chao was being pulled by the ear by his second aunt to Jiang Changing. He had broken the family rules and was sent to the police station a while ago. He begged for mercy. And it was the other party who started it. I've always been the first to talk, but the police didn't listen to my explanation and took me to the police station. You have to speak up for me in front of Grandpa. Don't let Grandpa hit me with a cane. While he was nagging, he suddenly saw Jiang Tian waving his finger and the rockery was cut in half. It was a shocking scene. Oh my God! Jiang Chao was so scared that he fell to the ground. His whole body was weak and he could not stand up. This time, if it were to land on his body, wouldn't he be chopped to death? How did he do it? He was about 10 meters away from the rockery. Is my son a god? Jiang Changing, Jiang Zhixing, and Yi Ziwei looked at Jiang Tian in shock as if they were looking at a stranger. Even when Jiang Tian drove the crimson fire at the old man's birthday banquet, they were not as shocked as when he chopped the rockery. Second aunt was also scared out of her wits. She stood at the door and bowed respectfully to Jiang Tian with a trembling voice. Greetings, family head, old master. Jiang Chao was reckless in the fight, but he was protecting the family's reputation. He was exempted from punishment. Go now. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said, Thank you for your forgiveness. The second aunt and Jiang Chao knelt down together and then slowly walked away. After the two of them were gone, Jiang Tian looked at the old man and said lightly, Old man, do you have confidence in me now? Jiang Tian, who exactly are you? Jiang Changing's heart was filled with shock and disbelief. Jiang Zhixing and Yi Ziwei also looked at Jiang Tian with puzzled faces. They also had the same question in their minds. Grandpa, do you know about martial artists? I have heard of them. Jiang Changing suppressed the shock in his heart and said slowly, It is said that martial arts and medicine are closely related. To practice martial arts, one needs to understand the theory of meridians, acupoints, and the human body. Doctors, especially the best doctors, are the most likely to come into contact with martial artists. After all, martial artists can also be injured or poisoned. Jiang Changing paused for a second and then said, Although the Jiang family is not a martial arts family, I have met a couple of martial artists. I know that martial artists are divided into iron body, internal force, and transcendent state. It is said that the iron body is not afraid of cold weapons and internal force can kill through objects without leaving any trace. The transcendent state martial artists are known as grandmasters. They can refine qi into righteousness and condense qi into weapons. They can even hurt people with flying flowers and leaves. Wow, that is so powerful. Jiang Zhixing, Yi Ziwei, and Jiang Zhixing were stunned. They could not believe that there was such a terrifying and powerful being in this world. Suddenly, the old man said in shock, Are you one of the legendary martial artists? Transcendent state? No, Grandpa, I'm practicing a different system called cultivation. Jiang Tian said lightly, I am only in the middle and late stages of qi refining, but I am already comparable to a martial artist at the peak of the transcendent state. What? You are already at the transcendent state? Our Jiang family actually produced a martial arts grandmaster. Jiang Changing was shocked. Then he clapped his hands and laughed. Ha! No wonder Chao Shixiang treated you with such respect. Jiang Zhixing and Yi Ziwei were also proud. Chapter 254. Zhang Wanqing snorted and said proudly that Nie Zhanghai and the others think that the Jiang family is easy to bully. My son is actually a master. He's clearly courting death. Jiang Tian said leisurely, the path of cultivation is deep and mysterious. It can be said that the highest level of a martial artist is only the basic stage of cultivation. If you can cultivate to a very high level, your body will be indestructible, your divine sense will not die, and you will ascend to immortality. You can destroy mountains and rivers with one strike and throw cities with a raise of your hand. Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and said slowly, you can even travel the universe, step into outer space, become a god, destroy a planet with a punch, destroy all living things with a snap of your fingers, until you can open up a universe that belongs to you. Cultivation is actually so magical. Oh my god, that's really a god. No, it's even more powerful than the legendary gods. Jiang Changing and the others felt as if they were dreaming. They were dumbfounded and could not believe it. If they had not seen Jiang Tian's remarkable power with their own eyes, they would have thought that Jiang Tian was crazy and talking nonsense. But at this moment, they suddenly felt that if Jiang Tian had such ability, it was natural for him to destroy the three major families of Jinling. For such a peerless powerhouse, human lives were really like dust and ants, not worth mentioning. Grandpa, Mom, Dad, Mom, Sister Ziwei, I gathered everyone today because I want to lead everyone into the path of cultivation. Jiang Tian glanced at the family and smiled. Can we also cultivate like you? This old man is willing to cultivate with you. Jiang Changing could not believe it at first, then he suddenly stood up and saluted as a disciple. Years ago, he had the 5 signs of decay and almost died, so he knew how precious life and health were. Even if he could not cultivate to the powerful realm that Jiang Tian said, it would be good to live a few more years healthily and not be tortured by illness. Grandpa, don't be so polite. I hope to accompany you forever. Jiang Tian was shocked and hurriedly returned the courtesy. Humph, if I live for another 100 years, my face will be full of wrinkles, and my teeth will fall out. If I still don't die, won't I become a 1,000-year-old witch? So ugly. Zhang Wanqing was also a little moved, but she still joked. Mom, I know that you love beauty, but cultivators can rejuvenate themselves and keep their youth forever. They can realize the real reverse growth. Jiang Tian was speechless. His mother was still trying to look pretty at this moment. He laughed and said, when the time comes, you will look like a 16-year-old girl. You will be so beautiful. It's so much better than those cosmetics. This hit his mother's weak spot. She immediately said excitedly, then I'll cultivate too. Your mother is going to become a beautiful young lady, and I'm going to become an old man. What should I do? Who knows, your mother might even abandon me. I'll cultivate too. Jiang Zhixing chuckled. You bastard. What are you talking about? The child will laugh at you. In my heart, you will always be a handsome guy. Zhang Wanqing smiled and pinched her husband. Instantly, the whole family agreed. Jiang Tian said, I'll teach each of you a set of cultivator's skills later. Then, Jiang Tian changed the topic. He looked at Grandpa Jiang and said seriously, Grandpa, do you know that there is a mastermind behind the Nye family and the other 2 families? It's called the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society. The Japanese? Grandpa Jiang was surprised. How is that possible? Why would we provoke the Japanese? That's why I killed them. Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and said slowly, the 3 families don't just want to control the Medicine King group. They want to be the lackeys of the Cherry Blossom Society and exterminate the Jiang family. Their ultimate goal is to snatch a piece of the map. Piece of the map? It can't be that map, right? Jiang Changing frowned and pondered. Grandpa, What's the origin of that map? It's coveted by the Cherry Blossom Society? Jiang Tian asked. He had communicated with Tang Guizhu over the past 2 days and found out how powerful and terrifying the Cherry Blossom Society was. The Cherry Blossom Society was established during World War II. It was formed by Japanese kendo masters, ninjas, onmyoges, and other strange people who adhered to militarism. It could be said that there were many strong people and experts. Its president was like the imperial preceptor of Japan, on equal footing with the emperor. After nearly 100 years of development, the Cherry Blossom Society's strength grew day by day. They had terrifying influence in the military, political, and economic fields. They could influence national policies and instigate wars. Many tycoons like Matsushita and Sumitomo were proud to join the Cherry Blossom Society. Even their leaders had to be courteous when they met. In short, in terms of martial strength, the Cherry Blossom Society could compete with the Long formation of Wuxia. However, in terms of influence in the secular world, the Cherry Blossom Society was even better, like the retired Emperor of Japan. This map fragment, it's a long story. Jiang Changging's eyes were deep as if he had fallen into the memories of the past. He said in a deep voice, "During the Republic of China, your great-grandfather was a famous divine doctor. One day, he was treating patients at the Jinling Medicine King Clinic when a man dressed like a Daoist suddenly barged in. There were many spies chasing after him. Your grandfather saw that the pursuers were Japanese and knew that this should be an anti-Japanese hero, so he hid him and let him escape. He even treated his injuries. However, at that time, the world was in chaos. There was a shortage of medicine and in the end, this hero died. However, before he died, he still gave this map fragment to your great-grandfather. Moreover, this hero said before he died that this map fragment involves the secrets of the immortal ruins and the immortal land. He must keep it safe and must not let it fall into the hands of outsiders. Involves the secrets of the immortal ruins and the immortal land." Jiang Tian's eyes lit up and his heart was in turmoil. He said in a deep voice, "Grandpa, where is this map fragment now?" "This map fragment was given to the young lady of Yanjin as a betrothal gift for you." Jiang Changging shook his head and sighed. "Now that I think about it, this map fragment was the most important reason why that family wanted to marry us. At that time, they asked for the map fragment of the immortal ruins. I thought that our Jiang family was not a martial arts family and it would be a waste to keep it. I also wanted to find a good wife for you, so I agreed. Who would have thought that later on, he actually gave it to them?" Jiang Tian's brows were tightly furrowed as he felt a sense of loss. When his master took him away from Earth, he had looked back at Earth and said that there was a wasteland in the depths of space near Earth. There were abundant cultivation resources. This should be the legendary Immortal Ruins. In his previous life, when his master took him away, he was already very powerful and had no interest in this Immortal Ruins. Therefore, he just looked at it for a while and took him away into the depths of the universe. But in this life, Jiang Tian's return had caused a series of butterfly effects. His master was likely not to come to Earth. Then he needed to set foot on the Ancient Star Road, and the first stop on the Ancient Star Road should be the Immortal Ruins. But he didn't expect that he couldn't find the map fragment even though he knew about the existence of the Immortal Ruins. "It doesn't matter." Jiang Tian suddenly became spirited. His eyes shone brightly and his heart was filled with killing intent. "The marriage contract has been annulled. The map fragment of the Immortal Ruins will naturally be returned to the Jiang family. Sooner or later, I will kill her family and ask for it back. If they obediently return it, I will let it go. If they don't, I will kill her family." Although he thought so in his heart, in order to not worry his family, Jiang Tian asked with a calm expression. He asked calmly, "Grandpa, is there a copy of the map fragment? I want to see." "There is a copy. Wait for me to get it." Jiang Changging went into the study. When he came out, he handed a piece of paper to Jiang Tian. These words and patterns." Jiang Tian took a closer look and could not help but be slightly moved, revealing a somewhat surprised expression. Through this copy, it could be seen that this map fragment was only a part of the original map. It was a map. This place should be on top of a high mountain, and the mountains were undulating. In addition, there were some strange words. Jiang Tian had never seen or heard of these ancient words before. He didn't know which era they were from. Some were as calm as a tortoise, some were as soaring as a dragon, and some were as roaring as a kirin. This map fragment must be hiding a great secret. Unfortunately, it is only a part of it. I don't know where the rest is. However, Jiang Tian felt that these words had a natural flavor. They actually had the charm of the Tao patterns and laws of the immortal world. This also meant that the original map might be a map, or more likely a magic treasure. After learning about the clues about the ruins of immortality, Jiang Tian was not in a hurry to find it. Jiang Tian suspected that the ruins of immortality might even be related to ancient secrets. This secret realm could be said to be illusory. Even if Jiang Tian had a lot of connections now, it was not something that could be found overnight. The most important thing now was to help his family embark on the road of cultivation. Grandpa, I will first teach you a set of cultivation methods, the 3 pure foundational arts. Jiang Tian came back to his senses and said leisurely. The 3 pure foundational arts was a set of basic cultivation methods in the cultivation world. Its biggest feature was that it could temper the cultivator's foundation and temperament to be as stable as a rock and indestructible. Moreover, this set of cultivation methods also had the effect of strengthening the body. After cultivating, one would be immune to all poisons, water, and fire, and could live to the ripe old age of 200. Once one reached the Qi cultivation realm, using this set of cultivation methods in actual combat would be smoother and stronger. It was like the torrential waters of the Yangtze River, advancing courageously. It could be said that its potential was unlimited. Okay. The 4 of them responded. Suddenly, they heard the sound of the great Tao in the depths of their minds. The vastness of things is incomparable to the heavens and the earth, but there is also a limit. The vastness of the heavens, the extremity of yin and yang. The vastness of the earth, the extremity of hardness and softness. The extremity of yin and yang leads to the formation of the 4 seasons. The extremity of hardness and softness leads to the formation of the 4 dimensions. The heavens are born to move, and the earth is born to remain still. The intersection of motion and stillness leads to the end of the Tao of the heavens and the earth. The beginning of motion leads to the birth of yang, and the extremity of motion leads to the birth of yin. The intersection of yin and yang leads to the end of the heavens. It was like the sound of a yellow bell ringing, but also like the sound of an immortal singing, giving people an ethereal and enlightening feeling. Jiang Changing and the others were shocked. They looked at each other in disbelief. They did not see Jiang Tian speak at all. How could they hear the sound? Don't panic. This is my divine sense voice transmission. I will directly copy this set of cultivation methods into your minds. Jiang Tian's slow voice sounded in their minds again, guiding them to comprehend the essence of this set of cultivation methods. After that, Jiang Tian taught each of them a set of immortal martial techniques that were suitable for them according to their personalities. Jiang Changing was honest and steady. He learned the Saint Heart King's fist. This set of fist techniques was a combination of hardness and softness. It was smooth and transparent. It was both offensive and defensive. It was awe-inspiring. Zhang Wanqing was competitive and never gave up. She was not inferior to men. What she learned was the sword technique of raising eyebrows of women. This set of sword techniques attacked fiercely and pressed forward with indomitable will. It was awe-inspiring and domineering. Dad and Yi Ziwei also each received a set of immortal martial techniques. Chapter 255. It only took one afternoon for Jiang Tian to pass the cultivation method coefficients to the 3 of them. In the end, he gave them some advice. Finally, he said, the path of cultivation is like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you will fall behind. You must have a firm mentality to explore the path of cultivation. You must cultivate diligently. Don't waste a day. Looking at the 3 of them nodding obediently like primary school students, Jiang Tian couldn't help but want to laugh. He had been back for more than a year. He was getting more and more accustomed to this society. His relationship with his family was gradually recovering. That feeling, it was as if the 10,000 years of cultivation was just a dream, as if he had just woken up from an illness. Just 3 years ago, he was still a bastard in the eyes of his grandparents. But in the blink of an eye, he had become the backer and hope of the Jiang family in their eyes. He was even a godly master and senior. That night, Jiang Tian accompanied the old man to dinner in Jiang Manor. To his surprise, many people in the Jiang family came back together as if they had made an appointment. Sister-in-law, have you heard? The Nye family, the Chen family, and the Sun family, the 3 big families that were eyeing our Jiang family covetously, are all finished. Little Aunt talked to Zhang Wanqing, but the corner of her eyes glanced at Jiang Tian, who was teasing Jiang Weiner with a lollipop. Isn't that so? I heard that the 3 listed companies under their control were all secretly controlled by a private equity fund registered overseas. Big Aunt also said excitedly. I also heard that the people of the 3 big families were trying to run away, but they were all wiped out. Not a single person was left alive, Big Aunt said mysteriously. Sister-in-law, I heard that it was little Tian's ability. Is it true? Yeah, I also heard that no one went to put out the fire. It burned for the whole night. Is it Elder Chao and the other officials who helped Jiang Tian? Everyone surrounded Zhang Wanqing and asked her all kinds of questions excitedly. It could be said that the destruction of the 3 big families was great news for the Jiang family. Everyone was shocked and ecstatic. Half a month ago, the Jiang family was still in a precarious situation under the combined suppression of the 3 major families in Jinling, Tianwei Pharmaceutical Company, and Hong Kong's White Knight Foundation. Who would have thought that the Jiang family would make a comeback in just half a month? The 3 major families of Jinling were completely finished. White Knight had retreated to Hong Kong, and the Chen family of Beijing had lost half of their lives. What? The 3 great clans have been annihilated. Jiang Bangxia looked at Jiang Tian's back. She covered her mouth and dared not speak. Cold sweat was pouring down her face. She had participated in the financial war against the 3 families, but she didn't know that there was a bloody massacre after the war. Jiang Chao looked at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at a god. His eyes were filled with fear and trepidation. This trash cousin of his had silently annihilated 3 great clans and caused a huge commotion, yet he had escaped unscathed. This ability was simply too powerful, just like a god. Don't spread this news carelessly. It's all nonsense. Suddenly, the old man walked out, glanced at everyone, and shouted angrily, "Whoever dares to say a word outside will be punished according to the family law." Everyone was silent. They didn't dare to say a word, nor did they dare to ask questions. Some people still didn't understand, but some smart people had already realized that this was done by Jiang Tian. However, it was too ruthless. If word got out, it wouldn't be good for the Jiang family or Jiang Tian. 3 days later, a piece of shocking news swept through the entire Jinling like a hurricane. Jiang Zhixing was transferred to a state-owned investment group in Su Province as the chairman of the board. For a time, public opinion was in an uproar. It could be said that the officials had put in a lot of effort to promote Jiang Zhixing. They bypassed the strict promotion period in the officialdom and directly let him break through the encirclement of state-owned enterprises. The provincial investment group was a department-level unit. Generally speaking, after 3 years of service in the provincial investment group, one could become a deputy provincial cadre. Everyone understood that this war had been decided by the officials. House Jiang had won completely and beautifully. Everyone had a premonition that a radiant and powerful family was slowly rising in Jinling. Master Kang's name spread throughout Jinling, shocking everyone. When Jiang Tian appeared at Banana Club that night, Mu Yunqing, Meng Yao, and Tang Bao all looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Some time ago, when the 3 great clans joined forces to attack the Jiang family, everyone thought that the Jiang family was finished. However, they didn't expect House Jiang to turn the tables and win completely and beautifully. The 3 noble houses were finished, and Yawang Group's market value had increased to hundreds of billions, becoming the #1 Chinese medicine company in Wuxia. House Jiang controlled 51% of the company's shares, which had reached a huge amount of assets of 50 billion. House Jiang was now at the peak of its power. In terms of assets, they were definitely in the top 3. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, had become the crown prince of House Jiang once again. Meng Yao and Mu Yunqing were so regretful that their intestines turned green. If they were given another chance to choose, they definitely wouldn't pass up on Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian, how did you do it? Meng Yao asked softly as she walked up, her face full of flattery. It was close to autumn, and Meng Yao was wearing black silk pants that ended at her ankles. Her white striped shirt was tucked into her pants, accentuating her slender waist and long legs. Between her pants and her white pointy heels, a patch of snowy skin could be seen. It was breathtakingly beautiful. It had been a while since they last met, and her wavy hair and makeup made her look even more mature. She had the charm of an urban workplace beauty. Master Jiang, Yao been so amazing lately. You have to take care of our business in the future. Tang Bao mustered up her courage and walked up, hugging Jiang Tian's arm and acting cute. Her smooth black hair fell over her shoulders, and she looked pure and innocent. Her skin was as soft as a porcelain doll's, but her figure was exceptionally hot. Even the V-neck couldn't cover her full breasts. Her body was also giving off a seductive fragrance, and her voice was like a lover's whisper. It was extremely seductive. It could be said that anyone who saw this pair of beautiful sisters wouldn't be able to resist. They'd have to throw away their armor and surrender. On the side, Mu Yunqing's eyes were red. These two girls were too straightforward and shameless, directly sticking to him like this. Unfortunately, she wasn't ruthless enough. She'd let them get to him first. What's with the jokes? I'm not worried about my position in Yao Holdings. What can I take care of you guys? Jiang Tian said indifferently as he pulled his arm back. In other people's eyes, this kind of big-breasted, brainless rich young miss was a heavenly beauty, a peerless stunner. They were afraid of falling in their hands and melting in their mouths. However, in Jiang Tian's eyes, they were nothing more than ordinary women. He didn't care about them at all, and they weren't worth mentioning. Bro, don't go. Seeing that Jiang Tian was about to leave, Tang Bao pulled him with her soft hand and whispered in his ear. Jiang Tian bro, do you want to play with us? How about getting back together with Meng Yao sis? Buy one get one free. Bao, what are you talking about? Meng Yao's face was slightly red, and her crystal-clear eyes were shy and timid. It made her look even more beautiful as she stomped her foot. She stomped her foot, and her full chest shook a few times. Dazzling white waves rippled out, and the young masters around them were stunned. She and Tang Bao were childhood friends and best friends. They were very close, and they'd sworn to never separate. She'd even promised to marry the same man in the future. But that was just a joke from childhood. How could she say it out loud? It was just that she also had some improper thoughts about Jiang Tian right now. Although Jiang Tian was already married, so what if she was his second wife? Shouldn't such an outstanding man have multiple wives? This was someone who'd subdued Su Ruoqing and crushed Nie Mingyuan. With her looks, she should be able to make Jiang Tian like her, right? She should have the qualifications to be a mistress, right? So dirty. Go away. Jiang Tian raised his arm lightly and threw Tang Bao to the ground. She was so wrong that she almost cried. Jiang Tian was annoyed. He wanted to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor, but these two women were too annoying. Everyone was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian's standards were too high. Even these sisters weren't worthy of his attention? Jiang Tian avoided them like they were snakes and scorpions. He went upstairs and saw Su Ruoqing walking towards him. He immediately scolded her. What the hell is this? A high-class clubhouse? Even a bunch of wild chickens can come in. Mr. Jiang, please calm down. Su Ruoqing was silent from his scolding. She shrunk her head and bowed repeatedly in apology. Don't let me see them. Jiang Tian raised his hand and strode into a tea house. Meng Yao and Tang Bao looked at Su Ruoqing with a pitiful expression. Sister Ruoqing, we were just joking with Jiang Tian. We didn't want to provoke him. Get out. Su Ruoqing heard a manager's report and knew what was going on. She was so angry that she trembled all over. She pointed at the door and shouted. Jiang Tian was a dragon among men. What kind of person was the #1 grandmaster on the god ranking? I'm the queen of Jinling's underground world, and even I can only be his servant. You bunch of brats want to climb into Master Kang's bed? Wishful thinking. Who gave you the confidence? Sister Ruoqing, don't be angry. Tang Bao her didn't realize the severity of the situation and wanted to act coquettishly. Slap. Su Ruoqing slapped her and shouted angrily. Get out. Didn't you hear me? Tang Bao's mouth was bleeding from the slap. She stood there, dumbfounded. She didn't know if she should cry or not. Throw the two of them out. Su Ruoqing shouted. From now on, their names will be removed from Banana Clubhouse. They're not allowed to enter. If you dare to offend Master Kong again, I'll kill you. Meng Yao and Tang Bao were like withered leaves in the cold wind under Su Ruoqing's might. They trembled, their faces pale. No, Sister Ruoqing, Jiangtian, please give us another chance. Amidst the two women's pleas and struggles, several bodyguards stepped forward and raised their hands and feet to throw the two of them out. At the side, Yi Ziwei sipped her tea and snorted coldly. She said in disdain, what a snob. You disrespected Jiang Tian time and time again. Isn't it too late to try to curry favor with him now? To Jiang Tian, the two women's approach and fawning were insignificant matters. Jiang Tian came to Banana Clubhouse to invite people from the Lingnan spell world to discuss the hidden Dragon Mountain formation. Chapter 256. Now, Mount Fulong had been leveled into a medicine field with hooks and excavators. A large number of spirit herb seeds and spirit medicine seedlings were transported over from Shenong School. They had been planted and a villa had been built. However, Jiang Tian's use of Mount Fulong wasn't as simple as using it as a medicine field. He wanted to set up a large array. Once this array was set up, it would be even more powerful than the 5-element spirit gathering array. It would be filled with spirit qi, and even ordinary people could live longer. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, planned to let his grandfather, parents, Sister Qinga, and Sister Ziwei move in and cultivate together. However, this array wasn't as simple as the 5-element spirit gathering array in #1 King's Mansion. Of course, the King's Mansion was not bad, but Xiu Lake was only 10 square kilometers of water, and Lion Peak was only a 100-meter hill. How much spirit qi could there be? Mount Fulong was different. It stretched for more than 10 kilometers and was hundreds of meters above sea level. Moreover, there was a huge earth-fire spirit vein underground, which was also the reason for the Tang Mountain hot spring. Moreover, it was located in the suburbs of Jinling and wasn't polluted. The spirit qi was purer and more abundant, 10 times more powerful than the King's Mansion. The array that Jiang Tian had been planning these days was to cover an area of 1 kilometer. It was 10 times more powerful and complicated than the 5-element spirit gathering array. It would guide and condense the spirit qi of more than 10 kilometers into this array. Moreover, he had to take into account the functions of illusion, attack, defense, lightning, fog, and so on. The materials used were extraordinary. It could be said to be an earth-shattering array. Jiang Tian was already vigilant after his experience at the Martial Arts Alliance conference. He would definitely kill along the way. Needless to say, he would offend martial arts experts and might even make the government wary. If someone wanted to take revenge, this array would at least be able to withstand a day and night of firepower attacks. A few days ago, Jiang Tian had greeted the heroes of Lingnan and Huang Wentao of the spell world, asking them to gather the materials for the array. Today was the day he handed over to them. Mr. Jiang. Master Kong. When they saw Jiang Tian enter, Jiangbei's representative Yi Gufeng, Jiangnan's Bai Choufei, Tai Minghuang, Tang Xiaozi, and many other powerful cultivators all stood up, bowing respectfully, appearing incomparably humble. Congratulations to Master Kong for shaking Jinling and wiping out the 3 great clans. Yeah, this battle was really beautiful. Everyone congratulated together, their eyes filled with excitement and reverence. It could be said that the Jiang family had reaped a lot of benefits from this financial war. Naturally, the various forces and families that had provided funds to participate in this war had also made a lot of money. It's all thanks to everyone's concerted efforts that we have today's results. Have a seat. As Jiang Tian lazily sat down, he gestured for everyone to sit down and said with a chuckle, "Without Master Kong, we couldn't have one." Only then did everyone dare to sit down and speak politely. "How are the materials for the array formation coming along?" "Wow, you must have spent a lot of money, right? Add up the bill and I'll transfer it to your account." Jiang Tian glanced at the huge tea room filled with boxes and said with a smile. The people from Lingnan had done a good job. There were many pieces of jade, including chalcedony, 1,000-year-old gloomy wood, black iron, sea rhythm multicolored stone, devil flame stone, sky wind vine, and so on. About 1 billion. Bai Chofei reported. "However, Master Kong, you don't have to pay. It's enough to take out the money from the three families." It could be said that everyone had joined forces to attack Jinling and the three families, and they had made a lot of gains. Take Bai Chofei for example. The entertainment venues under the Clear Sky Association were all accepted by Bai Chofei. Just this alone had earned them at least 2 billion, not to mention the money from the three listed companies. Don't forget the person who dug the well when drinking water. Believe in the beginning and you will have eternal life. Tang Xiaozi said with a pious face. Tang Xiaozi also made about 1 billion, and this guy spent another 500 million to donate 2 temples. It was said that many of the Buddha statues were carved with reference to Jiang Tian's image. He combined his belief in Buddha and his belief in Master Kang's great cause into one. The other rich people also each had an income of 1 billion or 2 billion. It could be said that they were evenly distributed. "Oh, that's good." Jiang Tian nodded and frowned slightly. "There are still some materials in the backyard." Yi Gufeng stood up and pointed to the window as he reported. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and sighed. These materials are actually far from enough. It could be said that Jiang Tian was a little anxious. As his cultivation deepened, it became more and more difficult to break through and advance because he needed 10 times purer spirit chi of heaven and earth than before. Formations on the scale of the 5 elements spirit gathering formation and ordinary medicinal pills were useless to him. He still wanted to transform his physique and reconstruct his body, but such materials were not easy to obtain. The only way was to use a huge amount of formation materials to set up the Hidden Dragon Mountain formation and condense the spirit chi of heaven and earth to forcefully break through. Moreover, this was also related to the cultivation progress of his grandfather, parents, and sister Ziwei. Time waits for no one. That's right, Master Kong. Actually, we have been collecting materials according to your orders since you took down the Hidden Dragon Mountain. Seeing Jiang Tian's displeased expression, Bai Chofei immediately became nervous. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said with a trembling voice, "This time, we have mobilized hundreds of people from the southern sects Feng Shui and Xianshu sects to visit all the major antique markets in the country. It can be said that we have turned the country upside down." Everyone present had a helpless look on their faces. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. He knew that everyone had done their best. The manpower and material resources consumed were no small matter. However, it was the end of the Dharma age. Spirit chi was exhausted and cultivation resources were scarce. This was not something that could be controlled by manpower. At this moment, Daoist Master Red Leaf's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "Master Kong, everyone, we have overlooked something." "What?" Jiang Tian asked. "Our vision is too narrow." Daoist Master Red Leaf said, "Why do we only focus on Wuxia and ignore foreign countries?" "Foreign countries? Do other countries also have formation materials?" Everyone looked puzzled and confused. "I don't dare to say about other places, but in the Nanyang region, there should be a lot of formation materials." Red Leaf said, "Since Zheng He went to Nanyang, the Chinese have continued to go to Nanyang. And in the late Ming Dynasty, early Qing Dynasty, and the Republic of China, more and more Chinese fled to Nanyang to discuss their lives. According to statistics, there are millions, even tens of millions." He said leisurely, "These Chinese went to Nanyang and not only provided the local labor force, but they also brought a lot of Wuxia culture there, including the culture of Xianxia, he said with deep emotion. The most important thing is that these places did not experience 10 years of turmoil, so their cultural heritage was preserved and continued. Therefore, they became the gathering place of Wuxia's feng shui and xianxia. And in the local area, there are also Nanyang's 10 great evil arts, which form the fusion of Wuxia's feng shui and Nanyang's xianxia. As a result, Singapore in Nanyang is called the capital of xianxia. Singapore? Singapore? Jiang Tian asked. That's right. Even Hong Kong's xianxia is much more prosperous than the mainland. For example, Sima Zhai can drink and chat with Hong Kong's chief executive. He's very valued. Huang Wentao added. At the end of every year, Singapore will hold a global xianxia exchange. There are all kinds of Dharma instruments and materials, Red Leaf said. Hong Yi said with a yearning look on her face. If we go to Singapore at that time, we will definitely make a profit. That's a good idea. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, you can go there first to gather information. If you find something suitable by it, I will go there too. Yes. The few of them answered in unison. By the way, is there any news about the D-daughter flower? Jiang Tian looked at everyone and asked. Not yet. Everyone shook their heads. We must find the D-daughter flower as soon as possible. This is more urgent than me setting up the Dragon Mountain formation. Jiang Tian frowned and said, what are you doing? A bunch of idiots. We understand. Master Kong, please don't be angry. We will do it as soon as possible. Everyone stood up and bowed. Jiang Tian sent all the materials for the formation to Dragon Mountain Formation. With the help of Red Leaf and the others, he set up the formation base. The missing materials were temporarily left aside. After that, many xianxia experts from Lingnan went to Singapore to gather information and gather the materials for the formation. One day, Jiang Tian was inspecting and adjusting the formation at Dragon Mountain Formation. Yi Ziwei called to inform him that Chen Jinming had finished his work and was about to leave Wuxia for America. Chen Jinming has put in a lot of effort this time. We must treat him well, Jiang Tian said with a smile. That's true. During the financial war, Chen Jinming worked overtime every night and lost 5 or 6 kilograms. Yi Ziwei smiled. Jiang Tian heard Jiang Lin interject. The sky spa on Mingyue Mountain is not bad. There's food, drinks, and entertainment. You can also soak in the hot springs to relieve your tiredness. Invite him there. Jiang Tian smiled and said, Heh, aren't you just trying to show off your good figure to seduce Chen Jinming to confess to you? During this period, Jiang Tian had also noticed that Chen Jinming's feelings for Jiang Lin were not ordinary. Now that he was about to leave Jinling, if he did not confess now, when would he? Someone else might beat him to it. Bah, nothing good comes out of your mouth. On the other end of the phone, Jiang Lin blushed and spat. Very soon, the matter was settled. Jiang Tian suddenly had an idea and called Zhen Shui. Zhen Shui, pick up Guang Su and go to the sky spa on Mingyue Mountain tonight to send Chen Jinming off. After all, the 4 of them had grown up together and were very close. It would be inappropriate to not tell them about Chen Jinming's return. Chen Jinming is back? This was the first time Zhen Shui had heard the news. He was shocked and then said sourly, Jiang, you're too mean. You didn't even say hello to me when he came back. Are you still my brother? After Jiang Tian beat up Nie Feng and scared Yu Chang, Zhen Shui began to pay attention to and research Jiang Tian's news. Only then did he realize that Jiang Tian was already the crown prince of the Medicine King group. Later, when the Jiang family of Jinling defeated the 3 big families of Jinling, he was so shocked that he almost fell over. He was naturally happy that his brother was awesome, but now, he could feel the distance between him and Jiang Tian, and he felt a little uncomfortable. Jinming hasn't left the house since he came back. He's been working. Jiang Tian explained with a wry smile. Sky Spa on Mingyue Mountain? I'm familiar with it. Okay, I'll book a private room in a hotel first. I'll pick you up. Zhen Shui did not waste time and hung up the phone. In the evening, he brought Tan Guangxu to the entrance of the villa on Fulong Mountain. Chapter 257. Jiang Tian, what's going on with you? You've become a migrant worker? Zhen Shuai was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian, you're just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Tan Guangxu looked deeply at Jiang Tian and smiled. In fact, he still couldn't believe it. It felt like a dream. How powerful were the three great clans? Compared to them, the Jiang family was like a little white rabbit in front of three ferocious tigers and wolves. However, the Jiang family forcefully counterattacked and defeated the three great clans completely. And now, Jiang Tian was no longer that useless hedonistic son of a rich family. Instead, he was the crown prince of the Medicine King group. He could only hope that the relationship between brothers wouldn't change. Jiang Tian had been setting up arrays these days. He was dressed like a migrant worker. He was wearing blue overalls, a safety helmet, and many mud spots on his trousers. Under normal circumstances, Jiang Tian would go back to the villa in the city to change his clothes at night. But today, time was a little tight. Moreover, he had already changed into his swimsuit at the hot spring, so he was too lazy to change. So be it. Let's go. Jiang Tian opened the car door and smiled lazily. Aren't we going to pick up Qin Jinming? Zhen Shuai asked. Jiang Lin and Ziwei will send him over. Let's meet at the clubhouse. Jiang Tian smiled. Damn, I remember that Qin Jinming has always liked Jiang Lin. He won't make a move on her, right? Zhen Shuai started the car and smiled evilly. Guangxu, you have no hope. He's a big boss on Wall Street. Jiang Lin is now the vice president of the Medicine King group. I'm just a small cadre. How would I dare to think about her? Tan Guangxu wanted to cry. But it seems like you have no chance. You're about to get engaged. This time, Uncle Jiang was transferred to the provincial investment bank and transferred you to be his personal secretary. That's also a divisional cadre. Zhen Shuai drove the car quickly and smiled. Give me some business in the future. Let me make a small fortune. Uncle Jiang is very strict. He told me to stay away from those shady bosses. Tan Guangxu said seriously. What the hell? How am I indecent? I'm just seriously hurting people, okay? Zhen Shuai was so angry that his nose was crooked. Looking at the laughter and bickering of their childhood, Jiang Tian's face revealed a rare trace of warmth. It had been a long time. Soon, the group arrived at Mingyue Mountain Hot Spring Town. This place was located in the eastern suburbs of Jinling, within the boundaries of Mingyue Town. Mingyue Town was a county-level city, and it was also an old town. There were many buildings from the Ming and Qing dynasties, and they were all antique. Now that the Mingyue Mountain Hot Springs had been developed, it was even more crowded. The three of them quickly entered a star-rated clubhouse called Emperor International, where they ate, drank, and played. Emperor International was famous in Jinling. It had 7 or 8 branches. Jiang Tian had been there a few times before, but he didn't expect it to open in Mingyue Town. In the resplendent and brightly lit hall, Zhen Shuai found the store manager and said, Director Yang, I made a reservation in advance. He then gave out his phone number. Oh, isn't this young Master Jiang? Young Master Jiang hasn't taken care of my business in a long time. Jiang Tian was hesitating whether or not he should change locations. He knew that there was a paid escort service in this kind of place, and he didn't want to meet with a few childhood friends in this kind of dirty place. Suddenly, the female store manager opposite him looked at Jiang Tian. She was slightly stunned at first, and then said coquettishly. Jiang Tian looked at her carefully and couldn't help but bitterly smile. Fine, he couldn't be serious even if he wanted to. Jiang Tian remembered that the girl in front of him used to be the public relations manager of Emperor International. She wasn't the hostess in the private room, nor was she the hostess of the hostess. Instead, she was a marketing staff in the marketing department of Emperor International. She had the title of public relations manager, and she was responsible for attracting and protecting customers. It could be considered a serious job. Although Emperor International didn't do serious business, it showed that they had a higher management level than almost all the restaurants in Jinling City. The young girl was wearing a black business suit and a white shirt with a large lapel collar. She wasn't very tall, but she was wearing a pair of black high-heel shoes. She was about 1.7 meters tall. She walked gracefully and was quite flirtatious. Her face was white and she was a very tasteful and beautiful woman. Although this kind of woman was a normal and clean professional woman, it was inevitable that she would be more amorous than ordinary women when working in this kind of place. According to Jiang Tian's temper in his previous life, he was very willing to spend time and effort to eat this kind of woman. Jiang Tian remembered that in his previous life, he had wanted to lay his hands on this woman several times in Emperor International's Jiangning District Rainbow Avenue store. Especially after he received the order from his grandfather to stay away from trouble in Linzhou, he became even more depressed and abandoned all restraint. His hands had touched this woman several times. Although she had pushed Jiang Tian away, she did not seem to reject him firmly. Jiang Tian secretly thought that it was fortunate that he was strictly controlled by his grandfather. The few times he went in and out of Emperor International were just for show. It seemed that he didn't mess around too much. However, the current Jiang Tian had lived 2 lives and returned from 10,000 years of cultivation. His mind was calm and his heart was firm. Naturally, he wouldn't have any romantic thoughts about this woman. He couldn't even remember her name. So Jiang Tian and manager Yang are old friends. I was worried that you wouldn't like this place. Zhen Shuai winked and whispered, "You're really a shady boss?" Jiang Tian rolled his eyes at him. Yang Lili looked at Jiang Tian from head to toe and smiled with slight disdain. "Young Master Jiang, what's wrong with you? You're already working as a laborer. Why are you dressed so shabbily? Now that our renovation service has been upgraded, we have a top-notch private room. It costs 30,000 a night. Can you still afford it?" Yang Lili didn't have a good impression of the frivolous Jiang Tian. He always touched her and didn't really spend money. Now that she saw him dressed like a laborer, she looked down on him and couldn't help but express her dissatisfaction. "Which private room?" Jiang Tian frowned slightly, but didn't bother to answer her. He looked at Zhen Shuai and asked. Seeing that Jiang Tian was unhappy and Yang Lili's attitude wasn't good, Zhen Shuai didn't waste time and quickly said, "The dreamy token? All right, let's go." Jiang Tian said faintly. Yang Lili saw that Jiang Tian ignored her and could not help feeling angry in her heart. She sneered and said, "The dreamlike tokens box room fee is over 20,000. Can you afford it with your beggar-like appearance? If you can't afford it, I'll have to call the security to kick you out." She was sarcastic and unkind. The essence of a heartless bitch and a heartless actor was portrayed by her. "Do I know you? If I have anything to say to you, I can only say that I'm sorry. My eyesight was too bad back then." Jiang Tian turned around and glanced at her. His eyes were indifferent. "Look at your short figure. You're like the bark of a 3-inch tree." Yang Lili was so angry that she almost fainted from Jiang Tian's words. She mocked, "Don't act like you're some big shot. You're like a beggar, and you're not embarrassed to come here and eat." "I'll eat whatever I want." Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back. He coldly said, "You should know your own status. You're here to serve me. To put it bluntly, you're nothing more than a servant. Be careful or your boss will slap you if he finds out that you're disrespectful to a customer." "Serve you? You think you're worthy of being served by me?" Yang Lili was so angry that she was stunned. Seeing Jiang Tian enter the private room under the guidance of the waiter, she couldn't help but snort and leave in a huff. Almost at the same time, another group of people entered the hall. Under the escort of a group of wealthy and respectable middle-aged men, a handsome and charming young man walked in with large strides. Yang Lili's eyes immediately lit up. She walked over and bowed. Her face was full of joy as she said, "Young Master Bai, you've finally come. I'll have young Master Lei bring young Master Yu Chang and young Miss Su down to welcome you." "Forget it, don't make a big fuss. Let's go up directly. I'm only here to discuss business," Bai Choufei said with a gentle smile. "All right, please follow me." Yang Lili revealed a flattering smile. She bowed and made a gesture of invitation. She obediently led the way in front. This was by Chofei, Yang Cheng's first-tier young master. It was rumored that he had recently become the godlike Master Kong. He had conquered many cities in Jinling and dominated a region. Now, they had defeated the Nye family's Clear Sky Club and could stand shoulder to shoulder with Su Ruoqing. Now, all the entertainment venues around Bright Moon Town were under his control. Even Lei Ming, the boss of Emperor International, had to seek his protection, rely on him, and act according to his mood. Today, Lei Gang invited by Chofei to a meal because he wanted to curry favor with him and get a chance to survive. They walked into the private room. After a while, Yi Ziwei, Jiang Lin, and Chen Jinming also arrived. Everyone knew each other. They didn't talk about work and only talked about the interesting things from their childhood. Soon they got along well. At this time, the dishes were served. A waiter brought over a plate of steamed sea bass and said in a sweet voice, "Everyone, please enjoy." Jiang Tian was in the middle of a drinking contest with Zhen Shuai. When he heard this voice, his heart trembled and his body stiffened. When he turned around, he saw Huang Linger, who was wearing the club's red vest uniform, serving the dishes. Huang Linger also looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. She didn't know why, but she felt that Jiang Tian was very familiar. Her heart ached and she felt very uncomfortable. Her nose twitched and her tears almost fell. Her mind was in turmoil. Her hand trembled and a mouthful of soup spilled on Jiang Tian's trousers. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I can compensate you." Huang Linger had her hair tied up in a cute bun. Although the red vest and trousers were of poor quality, it still couldn't hide her slender and graceful figure. Seeing that she had caused trouble, her pretty face turned pale. She kept bowing and apologizing. She was so anxious that tears almost fell. "It's okay. Go to your work." Jiang Tian waved his hand without batting an eyelid as he grabbed a tissue to wipe off the oil stains. He waited for her to leave. Yi Ziwei looked at Jiang Tian in surprise and whispered, "That's strange. Why doesn't she recognize you?" Jiang Tian poked his head out and explained. Yi Ziwei was even more in disbelief. She said in shock, "You can do that?" Then she sighed sadly and said, "That's good too. It's good for her, Qing, and you, why would she work in a place like this?" Jiang Tian frowned. He felt a little uncomfortable. Although he didn't have any plans to continue his relationship with Huang Linger, he still hoped that she could have a happy life. He didn't want her to suffer. Huang Zhihui had won the Nobel Prize in Medicine this year. The prize money was in the millions. His salary wasn't low either. There was also a commission from the patent fees. His income this year was no less than 10 million. He heard that Huang Zhihui had already bought a big villa and a BMW. Huang Linger had enough of being a pampered lady. Why would she need to work in such a dirty place? "I'll ask Huang Zhihui." Yi Ziwei immediately called Huang Zhihui. Chapter 258. Moments later, she hung up the phone and said softly, "Huang Linger is really stubborn." She had received her graduation certificate from the Pharmaceutical University in July. She had applied for a job at the Medicine King Group and the Fersky Laboratory, but she had asked her father not to look for anyone. She also did not mention her relationship with Professor Huang Zhihui, so no one knew. In the second round, she was eliminated. She's also an independent person. She didn't want to be a freeloader at home, so she insisted on coming out to work. "Oh, I see." Jiang Tian nodded and said softly, "How about this? Get the HR department to give her a call and ask her to stay by your side. I'll be more at ease then." "Sure." The herbal field in Mount Fulong is still lacking a person in charge. This girl seems to be a smart person, and she's also a pharmacist. Yi Ziwei nodded and said. She sympathized with Huang Linger. She heard from Huang Zhihui that even though Jiang Tian had erased her memory, she was still unable to fall for other guys. Countless young men pursued her, but she didn't care about them. When her parents urged her, she even got into a fight with Huang Zhihui and his wife. Perhaps it was because her parents urged her to get married that she came to Bright Moon Town to work and eat and live here. Yi Ziwei sighed in her heart. Meeting Jiang Tian was her fortune, but it was also her misfortune. Meeting Jiang Tian really ruined her life. Linger, come here. The moment Huang Linger came out of the room, she was called to a changing room on the 5th floor by the head waitress of the entertainment department. The head waitress threw her a low-cut princess dress and said, Linger, young Master Lei asked for your service. He's in the room on the 5th floor. Hurry over. Head waitress, I can't go. I'm a waitress in the restaurant. Huang Linger's heart clenched as she cried out with a pale face. This is Manager Yang's idea. The female manager wore an off-the-shoulder evening gown that revealed her cleavage. She was covered in dust as she impatiently knitted her brows and coldly said, If you don't go, then you can wait to be fired. I don't need you to fire me. I quit. Huang Linger took off her uniform and walked out of the door. What kind of attitude is this? The forewoman was also confused by her cold and stern refusal. For a moment, he didn't know whether he should persuade her or let her leave. He just stood there in a daze. Ling, I've invited you time and time again, but you're unmoved. You won't even give me this little face? Huang Linger walked to the door. Suddenly, a tall figure blocked Huang Linger's way and blocked her. Lei Gang walked into the dressing room with a gloomy face as he grinned. I heard that you sold yourself when you were in college, and now you're pretending to be pure in front of me? Do you think you are a princess? Get out of the way. Huang Linger angrily said, Let me out. Lei Gang took out a sealed banknote from his small bag. There were at least tens of thousands of banknotes. Then he raised his hand and slapped Huang Linger's face. He proudly said, Accompany me once and this 10,000 is yours. I have plenty of money. The new banknotes were as sharp as a knife. When they hit Huang Linger's face, they actually left a bloody mark on her face. What are you looking at? Get out of here. Lei Gang directly threw the banknotes at the forewoman's face. The forewoman didn't dare to let out a fart. She obediently walked out and closed the door. Lei Gang unbuckled his belt and approached Huang Linger. He sneered and said, You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. See if I don't change 18 different postures to fuck you little bitch. Huang Linger covered her face and retreated step by step. Her eyes were filled with panic as she loudly said, Don't come over. If you come over, I'll call for help. Save me. However, the changing room was originally in a corner, and the music was deafening, so no one heard her voice. Outside the door, the forewoman walked to young Lily and said gloomily, Do you want to persuade her? She doesn't want to get into the water. Can't young Master Lei do it when she has changed her mind? Can you persuade her? Lei Gang's father, Lei Ming, is a martial artist. He is very famous in Jin City and no one dares to mess with him around Mingyue Mountain. Young Lily leaned against the wall and took a puff of her cigarette. She said indifferently, It's fine if he doesn't do it. He just needs to throw some money at her and everything will be settled. This saves us the trouble of persuading Huang Linger to get into the water. This girl's ideological work is really not easy to do. You're right. This girl is too stubborn. Last time, a boss bought her virginity for $1 million and she was willing to do it. The forewoman said gloomily. Damn, why did he come up here? Damn, I'm screwed. All of a sudden, young Lily was shocked and screamed out loud. Jiang Tian rushed towards the changing room and kicked the door open. Then he saw Lei Gang crash through the door and fall out miserably. Young Lily ran over and was scared out of her wits. Lei Gang was leaning against the wall. He was gasping for air but not breathing in. Blood was spurting out of his mouth, and a large part of his sternum had caved in. His bones had been broken, and he was lying on the ground like a dead dog. Young Lily was shocked. The Lei family was one of the most powerful families in Jin City. Now that Lei Gang was beaten up in her family's territory, she would be in deep trouble if they pursued the matter. Jiangdan, how dare you beat up young Master Lei? You're not allowed to leave. Young Lily was so angry that she was trembling. She gritted her teeth and pointed at Jiang Tian. How dare you block my way? You want to die? Slap. Jiang Tian did not say anything and gave her a big slap. She flew out of the room. Don't cry. Your eyes won't look good if you continue to cry. Jiang Tian gently wiped the tears on Huang Linger's cheeks. He was full of guilt. He heard Lei Gang's words. Was she going to bear the curse of being his contracted lover for the rest of her life? This made her seem like a broken rose, and any crazy bees and butterflies would rush over to take advantage of her. Huang Linger still could not remember the past with Jiang Tian. However, deep in her heart, she felt that the man in front of her was someone she could rely on. He could protect her. She wanted to be strong, but she could not suppress the fear and grievance in her heart. She threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms and cried. It's okay. Come with me. Jiang Tian held the girl's waist and walked downstairs. After such a shock, she felt more at ease being away from the scene. Moreover, he was very angry. He was worried that he would not be able to control himself and kill Lei Gang in front of everyone. Jiang Tian, you're in trouble. You're not allowed to leave. Today, you have to give the Lei family an explanation. Yang Lily crawled up and stared at Jiang Tian. She did not care about the pain on her face. She signaled the security guards not to act rashly. Trouble? You call this trouble? Ask Lei Ming to come and see me. I'm going to kill his entire family today. Jiang Tian slowly turned around and looked at the angry Yang Lily. He smiled coldly. At that moment, Jiang Tian changed his mind. It seemed that the Lei family was used to bullying people in Jinling. How could such a family be allowed to exist? He might as well kill them all. What did you say? Yang Lily could not believe it. She was uneasy and confused. What was Jiang Tian relying on? How could he ignore the powerful family behind Lei Gang? That was the Lei family. Hurry up and call Lei Ming to come and die. After looking at Yang Lily coldly, Jiang Tian suddenly raised his foot and stepped on Lei Gang's knee. In an instant, Lei Gang's knee let out a cracking sound while he screamed miserably. Blood gushed out, and the broken bone pierced through his flesh, revealing the white stubble underneath. Lei Gang screamed until he was hoarse, but his voice gradually became softer. In the end, he fell silent and fainted from the pain. At that moment, Yi Ziwei and the others rushed over. When they saw Huang Linger's shirt buttons were broken and her clothes were disheveled, they understood what had happened. Don't be afraid. Sister and Jiang Tian are here. Yi Ziwei took off her little windbreaker and put it on Huang Linger. Linger, let Sister Ziwei send you back first. I'll take care of the rest. Jiang Tian held the girl's tear-stained face and comforted her gently. The Taichu celestial lord, who used to think that his Dao heart was firm and cold, finally realized that he was afraid of the woman he cared about. A beauty's tears would always be a pain in a man's heart. Even though he had cultivated for 10,000 years, he still couldn't avoid it. He was now wondering if it was a mistake to abandon Huang Linger. If he gave her a status, who would dare to touch her? I'm not leaving. Don't abandon me. Huang Linger quickly shook her head. Tears flowed down her face. She pulled Jiang Tian's hand and looked up at Jiang Tian's eyes. She wanted to say something, but she didn't. She didn't know why, but she felt that the man in front of her was very familiar. It was as if he was a piece of flesh in her heart, connected by blood. Once he left, she would feel heart-wrenching pain. Only when she was by his side did she feel an indescribable sense of security. It was as if no terrifying existence could hurt her. Two Audis surrounded a Mercedes-Benz S600 in front and behind. They blocked the main entrance of Emperor International arrogantly. Immediately, a series of muffled sounds came from the doors of the three cars. The noise in the night seemed to stagnate, and all the passers-by retreated. More than 10 burly men got out of the cars and surrounded a medium-sized man with murderous intent. The man had a flat head, a broad face, bald eyebrows, and big triangular eyes. He looked ferocious. At this time, his face was full of anger. He could probably scare a 3- or 4-year-old child to tears. A group of people rushed into the hall. When the 20 welcoming girls in red cheongsam on both sides of the hall saw clearly who was coming, they all showed fear and nervousness on their faces with heavy makeup. They bowed in awe and only dared to stand up straight after the group of people had walked far away. They secretly sighed in relief. They were terrified because the man in the center was Lei Gang's father, Lei Ming. Jinling martial arts were not popular. Except for Su Jinlei, who was in seclusion, the most powerful martial artist was Lei Ming, the blast fist master. He had many disciples, each with a huge industry. In Jinling, especially in the Bright Moon Town, he was a strong man who meant what he said. Moreover, he was also the boss of the Emperor Club. His assets were hundreds of millions. Usually, he used money to open the way to get to know high-ranking officials and nobles. Relying on his powerful skills and background, he bullied men and women and did all kinds of evil. The number of innocent women he harmed was at least 80 if not 100. The corridor facing the dressing room was almost like a long corridor in a European palace. It was carpeted and there were several pairs of large celadone vases on both sides. It was not narrow, but dozens of people gathered together to watch the fun, so the corridor was a little crowded. Messy but powerful footsteps came. People subconsciously looked back and then gasped. They stood on both sides of the corridor and tried their best to make way. They didn't dare to breathe. Lei Ming walked all the way. He was domineering and awe-inspiring, like a local emperor. The proud man walked to the end of the corridor and saw the miserable appearance of his only son. He was silent for a moment with a gloomy face. Suddenly, he turned to stare at Jiang Tian, gritted his teeth and smiled. "Boy, you dare to touch my son. You have guts." Chapter 259. On the floor, Lei Gang's body was curled up like a dying man. The pain caused him to faint on the spot. Because he was unlucky enough to be lying next to Jiang Tian's feet, no one dared to help him. Jiang Tian easily defeated the notorious Lei Gang. Obviously, his gang of scoundrels who liked to bully others with their power were frightened. It wasn't that these men weren't fierce people who dared to fight, it was that they understood one thing. Provoking someone who was above their level would not end well. Lei Gang's martial arts were excellent. His fists could crush rocks, but he was no match for Jiang Tian. It was obvious that this brat also had some martial arts skills. "Master Lei, you are finally here. You can't blame me for what happened today." I couldn't even stop him. The ambulance and the police arrived one after another. Yang Lily rubbed her swollen face that was slapped by Jiang Tian. Everyone clearly viewed Jiang Tian, who had injured Huang Linger, as their number one enemy. They completely ignored the fact that Lei Gang wanted to force Huang Linger. "Chief Huang, you have to arrest this brat for me. It's best if you kill him in the police station." Lei Ming whispered fiercely to the police chief who was leading the team. Lei Gang's despicable behavior had spread throughout Jinling. How could Lei Ming not know about it? It was probably because they were a family of birds of a feather that they were used to bullying others. They used their despicable behavior as a way to show off their status and privilege. As for Chief Huang, although he was wearing a police uniform, he was already in cahoots with him. He was just a dog raised by him. "Bastard, you want to arrest me?" Looking at Lei Ming's aggressive manner, Jiang Tian was so angry that he laughed. His face was full of arrogance and disdain. He still dares to laugh. He really doesn't know what death is. Master Lei is the king of Mingyue Town. Not many people in Jinling dare to offend him. Just wait and see, he will definitely die today. Some of the rich young masters and rich bosses looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at an idiot. They whispered and discussed. However, he didn't know that in Jiang Tian's eyes, Lei Ming wasn't even a local snake. At most, he was just a bug. Fighting and injuring people in public? Do you still have any respect for the law? Superintendent Huang wore his police cap askew. His slippers were sloppy, and he didn't even tuck his uniform into his trousers. He just swaggered over, his breath reeking of alcohol. He tilted his head and looked at Jiang Tian, shouting loudly. "Scram!" Jiang Tian snorted with disdain in his eyes. Without saying a word, he slapped him across the face. With a shrill scream, Superintendent Huang was sent flying like a scarecrow. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Towards such an insignificant ant, Jiang Tian did not need to waste words at all. He could just directly slap it away. How lawless! How dare he attack the police? Just kill him. Lei Ming laughed sinisterly and roared loudly, signaling the police to kill Jiang Tian on the spot. "Squat down. Otherwise, we will take action." A few police officers also sensed the danger. They pulled out their pistols and batons and pointed them at Jiang Tian, threatening him fiercely. "You are Lei Ming?" In response, Jiang Tian's expression didn't change. He looked at Lei Ming indifferently and said, "Get out of Jinling immediately. From now on, don't let me see you in Jinling. Who do you think you are? See if I don't cripple you today." Lei Ming was so angry that he almost fainted. Who in Jinling would dare to talk to him like this? "It's over. Master Lei is going to make a move. It would be weird if he doesn't kill this kid. Yeah, I heard that Master Lei is a martial arts expert. In Jinling, only Su Jinlei can suppress him. This kid still dares to talk nonsense. What a pretentious prick. Isn't he afraid of being struck to death by lightning?" Many people gloated and talked among themselves. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a dead man. "Humph, a trash like a beggar dares to behave atrociously in Emperor International. You must be tired of living." Yang Lili was very unhappy with Jiang Tian. She crossed her arms and raised her chin arrogantly. She didn't want to see Jiang Tian's miserable ending. Sure enough, Lei Ming rolled up his sleeves and rushed toward Jiang Tian. It seemed that the fight was about to start. But at this moment, a domineering shout came, "Lei Ming, are you tired of living?" Everyone turned their heads to look and saw a group of young men with extraordinary bearings escorting an elegant man as they walked over quickly. The man in the lead was wearing a custom-made shirt and trousers from an old Italian tailor and pointed European-style leather shoes. He was tall and straight, with a handsome face. As he walked, he exuded a powerful aura, which could even suppress Lei Ming. In particular, he exuded a noble and domineering aura, as if he was a heavenly noble. This kind of aura could only be cultivated by a rich and powerful family. It couldn't be faked even if one wanted to. "Oh, it's the young master of Yang City, Bai Qiufei, the boss of Tiange Entertainment. I heard that Gu Jihua and Li Huiyan are artists under his banner. He even has a scandal with Gu Jihua. Even the young master of Jinling, Yu Chang, and the underground world's queen, Su Ruoqing, can only follow behind him. His strength is too great." At this moment, many girls present cast admiring gazes toward the man in the lead. Young Master Bai is really domineering. Since he's here, Jiang Tian will have to kneel down. Yang Lili also looked at Bai Qiufei with a face full of adoration, her eyes burning. Women all longed for the protection of the strong. Unfortunately, at her level, she didn't have the qualifications and opportunity to climb into Bai Qiufei's bed. Bai Qiufei, who had a powerful aura, walked forward as if there was no one around him. The people who were originally blocking his way were frightened like birds by the twang of a bow. The scene of teasing little brats in gangster movies was vividly presented in front of everyone's eyes. Young Master Bai is here. The crowd immediately became restless. Countless people stretched their necks and widened their eyes, afraid to miss this rare scene. When Lei Ming saw him come over, he was so scared that his whole body trembled. He hurriedly took small steps forward, nodding and bowing as he said, "Young Master Bai, why didn't you tell me you were coming over to play? I could have accompanied you." It was said that martial artists had a transcendent status, but it also depended on the specific level. Sometimes, in front of money and power, it was difficult to avoid this custom. Now that Bai Qiufei and Su Ruoqing had joined hands to control Jinling, Lei Ming only had a few big cats under him. They couldn't be compared to him at all. What was even more frightening was that Bai Qiufei also cooperated with the legendary Master Kong to defeat the Nie family and the other two great families, becoming the right-hand man of the famous Master Kong of Jinling. Lei Ming was even more afraid of him and could only look up to him. Now, Lei Ming had already given up Bright Moon Town to Bai Qiufei, only asking him to introduce him to Master Kong. At this moment, Yang Lili looked back at Jiang Tian, only to see that Jiang Tian was still calm and unruffled, his expression calm. But could it be that he isn't scared? Or is it that he can't even reach Bai Qiufei's level? She inwardly despised him, mocking and ridiculing him, but she was also extremely bewildered. However, the following scene quickly gave Yang Lili an answer. Bai Qiufei and Yu Chang ignored the shocked gazes around them, quickly walking up to Jiang Tian. They bowed respectfully, shouting with the most respectful tone they had ever used in their lives, "Young Master Jiang! Master Kong!" Their voices weren't loud or soft, but for the surrounding people, it was no different from a deafening muffled thunder, shaking them until they trembled in fear, their brains short-circuiting. "Jiang! Master Kong!" Lei Ming's entire body trembled, his expression suddenly changing, becoming as ugly could be, alternating between green and white, his expression extremely brilliant. Jiang Tian only expressionlessly nodded, his clear eyes filled with boundless arrogance, disinclined to even greet them. Meanwhile, Bai Qiufei and Yu Chang didn't have any complaints, tactfully standing behind Jiang Tian, willing to play supporting roles. Even the slowest person could figure out what was going on. Tonight's true main character, the true superior, was that youth who had been scolded by some people for acting pretentious and acting recklessly. It really was quite dramatic. Young Lily hurriedly covered her mouth, almost crying out in alarm. It could be said that she had just witnessed the most inconceivable scene in her 20-something years of life. Young Master Jiang. When this seemingly overflowing title came from the mouth of such a flashy and valiant man like Bai Qiufei, it condensed an incomparable shocking force. This was 1,000 times more shocking than Jiang Tian beating up Lei Ming's son in public. Even with Yang Lily's vast life experience, she couldn't imagine just how great of a background one had to be to make Bai Qiufei, this kind of top-class young master, act so lowly like an ox or a horse's lackey. "Young Master Jiang, did someone provoke you?" When Bai Qiufei came downstairs, he already saw Lei Ming and the others hooting at Jiang Tian. He narrowed his cold eyes, looking at the stupefied Lei Ming. Lei Ming shuddered, frozen in place, not knowing what to do. The group of attendants and several police officers behind him all withered. They couldn't imagine how serious the consequences of offending someone who could make Bai Qiufei and Yu Chang bow and scrape. "Little Bai and Yu Chang, are you all blind?" Jiang Tian's expression was displeased, disinclined to speak nonsense. Lei Ming and Superintendent Huang had to pay an extremely painful price with just a few words from him. This was the ability of a superior to call the clouds with a flip of the hand and the rain with a flip of the hand. Daring to provoke Master Kong, courting death. Su Ruoqing shouted, her charming face full of anger. Bai Qiufei and Yu Chang looked at Lei Ming with increasingly cold eyes. "Master Kong, I really didn't know it was you." Lei Ming's legs went soft, kneeling on the ground. "Kill him." Jiang Tian transmitted his divine sense to Su Ruoqing and the others. He coldly glanced at Lei Ming, frowning in disgust. He had always looked down on men without backbone. Lei Ming, who bullied the weak and feared the strong, was he worthy of being called a martial artist? Moreover, from how Lei Gang forced Lin Manong, he could tell that Lei family wasn't anything good. Today, they did this again, so killing him definitely wasn't wrong. Disinclined to speak any more nonsense, Jiang Tian pulled Huang Linger and left. Meanwhile, Su Ruoqing and the others also began to clear the area. Superintendent Huang and the other police officers not only didn't stop them, they even helped. Everyone withdrew into the private room or scattered downstairs. Yang Lily had just walked to the stairs when she heard a miserable cry for mercy from behind her. She subconsciously turned around to take a look. She saw Su Ruoqing pull out a long blade like a magic trick, forcefully hacking down. With a light kacha sound, a wave of blood splashed onto the corridor walls. Lei Ming's head rolled to the ground, his headless corpse falling head first onto the floor. Kacha! Another snow-white cold light flashed down like lightning. This time, it was aimed at Lei Gang. Yang Lily's body shivered, not daring to look. She turned around, only to see Jiang Tian, who was hurrying down the stairs, his indifferent gaze shooting over. Chapter 260. At that moment, she felt as though she was being stared at by the Grim Reaper. Her entire body was cold, and her legs were like noodles. She couldn't even stand properly. She slipped and rolled down the stairs. Her head was bleeding and she screamed. Jiang Tian didn't give her a second look. Instead, he pulled Huang Linger out of the club and into the parking lot. Jinming, I'm sorry. I wanted to send you off. I didn't expect this to happen. Jiang Tian shook hands with Chen Jinming and apologized. We're brothers. You don't have to be so polite. Chen Jinming smiled, then looked at Jiang Tian seriously and said, Jiang Tian, thank you. You've brought me to a height that I can't imagine. You don't want me to be polite, but you're being polite again. That's your own ability. Jiang Tian patted him on the shoulder. But I'm sorry, I can't send you to the airport. Take care of your friend. She's scared out of her wits. Chen Jinming glanced at Huang Linger, then suddenly smiled proudly. Also, don't think too highly of yourself. I don't want you to send me off. Jiang Lin agreed to my pursuit. She'll send me off. Don't disturb us. What are you talking about? There's no time for us. Behind him, Jiang Lin was blushing. She pinched Chen Jinming, but her eyes were filled with tenderness and sweetness. She was very satisfied. I'm impressed by your ability to forget your friends. Jiang Tian gave him a thumbs up and praised him. Take care, brother. We'll work together again when we have time. I hope you have a baby soon. You have such a cheap mouth. Chen Jinming hugged Jiang Tian again, then walked away with Jiang Lin hand in hand. Looking at the two talking and laughing along the way, Jiang Tian suddenly felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart. This was great. Don't work here in the future. Jiang Tian looked at Huang Linger and opened the car door. Huang Linger was stunned. My name is Yi Ziwei, the president of the Medicine King Group. You can report to the Human Resources Department tomorrow. Yi Ziwei handed over a business card and said with a smile. I'm going to work at Yawang Group tomorrow. Huang Linger was stunned at first, then she cheered and said happily, Wow, you're Yi Ziwei. I've heard Dad talk about you. I really admire you. No wonder he looked so familiar. I've watched your product launch many times. Get in the car. I'll send you back. Jiang Tian smiled. I came to your city and walked the path you took. I imagined how lonely you would be without me. Eason Chan's Long Time No See came through the campus broadcast system. The mellow background music and the soulful singing were particularly moving in the night. Two beautiful figures appeared in front of the library of the Jinling Pharmaceutical University, attracting the attention of many male students. Another person crashed into a tree. Is this the school that Jiang Tian studied at? One of them was about 25 or 26 years old. She was slim and wore a white windbreaker, black silk casual pants, and black high heels. Her black hair fell like a waterfall. Her skin was fair, and her eyes were bright and clear. She stared at the library building with a quiet and ethereal temperament. Sister, why didn't you tell brother-in-law that you came to Jinling? No one came to pick you up. My legs are tired from walking. The other girl looked similar to the former, but she was 2 or 3 years younger. She wore a red hoodie paired with low-waisted jeans and canvas shoes. She looked like a college student who had just graduated. She had an exquisite figure, but her beautiful eyes were lively. She was in high spirits as she looked around. It's a surprise for him. Also, I want to see the school that your brother-in-law studied at. Zhao Xueqing smiled. What's there to see? There's not a single handsome guy. Zhao Qianru curled her lips and then said dejectedly, Also, compared to these young college students, I feel old. Zhao Xueqing was too lazy to care about her little emotions. She pulled a passing boy and said, Classmate, where is the Fersky laboratory? Oh, it's in the administrative building of the School of Chinese Medicine. Being asked for directions by such a stunning beauty, the student was flattered. His voice trembled and he quickly said, I happen to be free. I'll take you there. Then I'll have to trouble you. Zhao Xueqing nodded slightly politely. She was so beautiful that the student's soul almost flew away. No trouble, no trouble. Are you here to apply for a job or to participate in an academic exchange? The boy hurriedly led the way in front and then excitedly introduced, This laboratory is amazing. There's a Nobel Prize winner in medicine. Basically, the top pharmaceutical, biochemistry, and physics talents in Wuxia have been recruited. Is that so? Zhao Xueqing pursed her lips and smiled with gratification. She even felt a little proud. It seemed that Jiang Tian had really done well in the past 6 months. Of course, the boy said proudly, with just this laboratory, our school's pharmaceutical strength has ranked as the top medical school in Wuxia. Even the universities in Shuimu and Beijing are far behind. Soon, they arrived at the administrative building of the Chinese medicine school. This was also where the Fersky laboratory was located. Zhao Xueqing looked up at the brightly lit laboratory and a sweet smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The boy introduced, the Medicine King Group relied on a few new drugs developed in this laboratory to fight back. Now, their market value has risen to 100 billion yuan. Amazing. Then do you know the founder of this laboratory? Zhao Xueqing asked with a sweet smile. If I didn't know, would I still be in this school? The boy smiled and said, Professor Jiang Tian. Speaking of which, he's my senior. He also taught in the school for half a year. His academic level is very high. None of the professors and academic leaders are unconvinced by him. He shook his head a little regretfully and said, It's a pity that he's no longer teaching. Otherwise, I would definitely be his doctoral student. The boy said with a look of admiration, I heard that Professor Jiang was also a bad student. He studied in the second-level Ren College and skipped classes every day. Later, he became a self-taught genius and became our guest professor. I was inspired by him and worked hard to catch up with him. That's how I got admitted to Professor Huang Zhihui's graduate student. I'm not qualified to enter the laboratory now. They only want doctoral students. However, I'll definitely be able to enter in the future. Speaking of this, the boy waved his fist heavily and cheered for himself. If I join the laboratory, I might be able to see Professor Jiang Tian. See? This is the dormitory building where Professor Jiang Tian lived in back then. The boy pointed to a dormitory building on the left and said, the 4th floor, the 3rd dormitory from the left. It's now preserved by the school as a historical relic. Many people visit it every day. This is the place where he lived. Can you bring me up to have a look? Zhao Xueqing's mouth rippled with a faint smile. No problem. The dormitory isn't closed yet. The boy immediately regarded the 2 girls as Professor Jiang Tian's admirers and excitedly went upstairs. There was a sign hanging at the door that said, Professor Jiang Tian's dormitory. This is the bed where Professor Jiang Tian lived in back then. Everyone walked in. The boy pointed to a bed and said, You guys take your time. I have to go back to the dormitory. There were some daily necessities symbolically placed in the dormitory, but there wasn't much life in it. However, in a few frames on the exhibition stand, there were some enlarged photos of Jiang Tian in university. There were photos of club activities on the court, and also photos of daily life. Most of them were group photos. They were probably collected from the same batch of alumni as Jiang Tian. Brother-in-law was so gloomy when he was young. His eyes were a little ruthless and he even had an afro. I can't imagine. Zhao Qianru covered her mouth and chuckled. At that time, Jiang Tian lacked the companionship and control of his parents. His character was eccentric and rebellious. He wasn't very likable. Of course, he was also hated by everyone in the family. Even in school, he wasn't popular. No one looked up to him. In those photos, he was often at the edge of the crowd and was drowned out. He seemed to be aware of this alienated interpersonal relationship. His gaze was stubborn and lonely as he looked at the camera. He was like a small beast that had been attacked and was on high alert. At that time, he should have been suppressed in the family. It's a pity that I didn't meet him in advance and accompany him. Zhao Xueqing smiled and her gaze gently swept across those photos. Sigh, but there's a girl who appears a little frequently. Zhao Qianru suddenly pointed to a little girl with a cute bun in the photo and smiled. Could it be brother-in-law's girlfriend back then? In the photo, Huang Linger was holding Jiang Tian's arm and leaning her head on Jiang Tian's shoulder. She smiled sweetly and looked at the camera with a little shyness. It's possible. Zhao Xueqing stretched out her slender fingers and stroked Huang Linger in the photo. She smiled and said, When your brother-in-law was young, he was very popular with girls. Little sister, how are you? Long time no see. Under the light, Her snow-white hands sparkled as if they were translucent. However, her fingertips were badly mutilated and there were some scars. "Sister, aren't you nervous?" Zhao Qianru rolled her eyes at her sister and frowned. "This little hussy might have slept with my brother-in-law." "Girl, you're talking nonsense. Are you a girl? Be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future." Zhao Xueqing glared at her and then touched Huang Linger's face in the photo. She smiled and said, "I should thank her. She was the one who accompanied Jiang Tian when he was lonely. I'm the one who came later." "Sister, you're so magnanimous." Zhao Qianru was speechless. "Ouch, it hurts." Suddenly, Zhao Xueqing cried out in pain. "Sister, are your fingers hurting again?" Zhao Qianru quickly took out the ointment and applied it on her sister. She said with heartache, "You have to play that white ape-bone zither every day in Linzhou and your fingers are bleeding. If brother-in-law sees this, his heart will definitely ache." "Your brother-in-law said that if I can play the white ape-bone zither, it means that I can use my cultivation." Zhao Xueqing said gently, "Your brother-in-law spent a lot of effort to create the 5-element spirit convergence array. I can't let him down. I must become a woman who can stand side by side with him. Not a delicate flower in a greenhouse who is protected by him." "All right, let's go to the classroom and take a look at the place where brother-in-law taught back then." Zhao Qianru said in her heart that her sister was really infatuated with brother-in-law. She pulled her sister out of the door. At this time, the two girls still didn't know that Jiang Tian and Huang Linger had already returned to the pharmaceutical university. Would they say, "Long time no see," to each other or Mars colliding with Earth? Chapter 261. Jiang Tian drove Huang Linger home. Along the way, Huang Linger wanted to say something but hesitated. She kept stealing glances at Jiang Tian's side profile. "You and my dad know each other, right?" When they were almost at school, Huang Linger finally couldn't hold back. She frowned and asked, "You seem to have taught in the pharmaceutical university before?" "Yes. My name is Jiang Tian. I'm the person in charge of the Medicine King Group's laboratory. I used to work with your dad for a while. You can call me Teacher Jiang." "I know it's you. However, I seem to have met you even earlier than that. It seems like we are very familiar with each other." Huang Linger lowered her head and frowned. She said with a distressed face, "But I don't seem to remember it. What's wrong with my head? Whenever I think about it, I get a headache." Jiang Tian felt a throbbing pain in his heart. However, he pretended to be relaxed and said, "Maybe I have a common face." "No, it's not like that." Huang Linger shook her head violently. Then, she lowered her head and covered her face with her hands. She said with a trembling voice, "It's not like that. Something must have happened between us. But I really can't remember. Don't think too much." Jiang Tian sighed helplessly. It seemed that her memory was too deep. Even his divine sense couldn't be completely erased. In the future, he had to stay away from her. Otherwise, she might remember it. However, today's incident was really sudden. He had to appear. "Maybe I remembered wrongly." Huang Linger sighed in distress. She looked at the blurred lights outside the window and gradually calmed down. Jiang Tian parked the car at the school gate. He bypassed the library and walked toward the staff residence on the side of the campus. It was already 11 o'clock at night. The campus was very quiet. Leaves fell from the trees from time to time. The street lamps sprinkled bright yellow light, enveloping the two people walking silently. "Put it on." Seeing that she seemed a little cold, Jiang Tian took off his short windbreaker and put it on her shoulders. "Thank you, Professor Jiang." Huang Linger smiled sweetly. "You're welcome. Teacher Jiang, you don't have to send me off. Thank you for today." At the entrance of the residence, Huang Linger turned around, looked at Jiang Tian and bowed deeply. "It's okay. I'm your dad's friend." Jiang Tian smiled stiffly. I. Huang Linger returned the coat to Jiang Tian. She wanted to say something but hesitated. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Jiang Tian and whispered, "Professor Jiang, can I hug you?" She was shocked by her own words. She also knew that it was very impolite and even a little strange, but she couldn't control her surging emotions at all. She looked at Jiang Tian with an aggrieved and pleading expression, and sparkling and translucent tears flowed from her eyes. "Let's head back." Jiang Tian touched her head and said with a gentle smile, "It's too late. Your parents will be worried." Just at this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice called out, "Brother-in-law, so you're here." Jiang Tian turned his head and saw Zhao Xueqing and her sister walking over. He was also surprised and smiled. "Why are you guys here?" "Big sister said that she wanted to give you a surprise." Zhao Qianru ran over and pulled Jiang Tian's arm. Damn, it was simply a shock and a surprise. Jiang Tian was secretly afraid in his heart. He had to admit that a woman's sixth sense was extremely terrifying. Actually, Zhao Xueqing had already noticed Wang Lin when she walked over. After being stunned for a moment, she said with a smile that was not a smile, "Jiang Tian, this is..." She had already recognized that she was the girl beside Jiang Tian in the photo. However, she was much more mature, and her figure was taller and more exquisite. She was even more charming than before. She thought to herself that Jiang Tian's taste in picking girls was pretty good. This girl's face was pretty, and she had a scholarly air about her. She was intelligent and had a kind of reserved and deep beauty. The more she looked at her, the better she looked. However, she believed that Jiang Tian was a person who knew his limits. Even if she had a relationship with Jiang Tian would not act recklessly. She believed that she was an admirer of Jiang Tian. After all, the current Jiang Tian's charm was astonishing. Moreover, she had also seen clearly from behind that the two of them had walked far away, but they had always maintained a distance. However, her eyes were filled with tears, and there were also tear stains on her face. What was going on? "Oh, this is Professor Huang Zhihui's daughter. I just happened to bump into her, so I sent her back. Linger, this is my wife, Zhao Xueqing, and this is my sister-in-law." Jiang Tian smiled and introduced the two of them. "Hello, Madam Jiang." Huang Lin quickly bowed, and her face was already blushing. She was secretly surprised. How could Teacher Jiang's wife be so beautiful? Her figure and appearance were first-rate, especially her temperament. She was ethereal, like a fairy. She was much better than those female celebrities on TV. Only a woman like this could be worthy of Jiang Tian. She sighed in her heart, but also felt a little embarrassed and ashamed. She had actually asked for a hug from Jiang Tian. Fortunately, Jiang Tian did not hug her. If she had seen it, it would be hard to explain. "All right, you can go back." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and waved his hand, letting Huang Lin go first. Goodbye, Teacher Jiang, goodbye, Madam Jiang." Huang Lin bowed again, and then turned to leave. Zhao Xueqing and her sister and Jiang Tian walked toward the school gate. They did not drive, and they wanted to take Jiang Tian's car home. "This little girl is quite lively." "Jiang Tian, do you have any thoughts?" Zhao Xueqing raised her eyebrows, and her clear eyes looked at Jiang Tian. "What nonsense are you talking about? We're really just friends." Jiang Tian was shocked, and then he quickly changed the topic. "Why are you suddenly here?" "I've already absorbed most of the spiritual energy from the 5 elements spirit gathering formation. I'm here to make a surprise attack and see if you're hiding a mistress in your golden house." Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian mockingly and smiled faintly. "Absolutely not. I've always kept my chastity for you, okay?" Jiang Tian wanted to swear. His heart trembled. Damn, China. She's not that easy to fool. She can't even change the topic. "What happened to your hand?" Suddenly, he noticed that Zhao Xueqing was wearing gloves, and the weather was not cold at all, so he asked suspiciously. "Nothing. Some time ago, I was cooking and my hand hurt." Zhao Xueqing avoided the topic. "What?" She didn't listen to my advice and insisted on talking about the white ape zither. "Let me see." Jiang Tian grabbed her wrist and took off her gloves. He saw that the 5 fingertips were bleeding, and there were wounds all over. Even the fingernails were broken, revealing the pink flesh. "It's okay, it's just a small injury." Seeing that Jiang Tian's eyes were red, Zhao Xueqing comforted in a gentle voice, "It'll be fine in 2 days. Sigh, don't play anymore, I'll help you find the D-daughter flower as soon as possible. Jiang Tian sighed and then said firmly, Little sister Qing'e, you're here. After returning to the mansion, Yi Ziwei was also very surprised to see that Zhao Xueqing had come, and she held onto her little hand and asked a lot of questions. Big sister Ziwei, I'll be able to finish absorbing the spell formation set up by Jiang Tian in 10 days. Zhao Xueqing smiled. In the future, I'll be able to live in Jinling and accompany mom, dad, and big sister Qing'e every day. Hee, that's great. Dad, mom, and dad are all anxious to have grandchildren. Yi Ziwei smiled teasingly. You guys talk, I'm going to take a shower. Jiang Tian's face darkened, and he hurriedly dashed into the bedroom. Why don't you go take a shower with Jiang Tian? Yi Ziwei giggled. No, you should go. Zhao Xueqing teased. Heh, I don't care about him. Yi Ziwei smiled. When I came to the Jiang family, he was only 6 or 7 years old. I've seen his but countless times. The three women let out a burst of bell-like laughter, and Zhao Xueqing was overjoyed. Forget it, I'll take a shower with you later, big sister Ziwei, and I want to sleep with you tonight. Then Jiang Tian will hate me to death. You guys are like newlyweds. Yi Ziwei teased. In fact, she already had some understanding in her heart. Jiang Tian sent Wang Lin back and came back with Zhao Xueqing, so Zhao Xueqing must have met Wang Lin and wanted to ask her about it. Soon, the three women finished washing up, and the Zhao Xueqing sisters hugged Yi Ziwei as they slept on a large bed, chatting casually. In the end, it was the godly assistant Zhao Qianru who couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked, Big sister Ziwei, do you know Wang Lin? I think she's a little abnormal with brother-in-law. Qianru, why are you bringing this up? Zhao Xueqing frowned and rolled her eyes at her. She seems to be my brother-in-law's ex-girlfriend, right? Zhao Qianru smiled shamelessly. Yi Ziwei turned over and sat up. She picked up a box of women's cigarettes from the bedside table and lit one up. She exhaled a mouthful of smoke and sighed faintly. Qing, this is a very sad story. If you're willing, I'll tell you. Big sister, I believe in Jiang Tian's character, and I've never doubted him. Zhao Xueqing smiled awkwardly and said, It's just that I want to know more about Jiang Tian's past. I want to understand him. Linger is indeed Jiang Tian's girlfriend, and she even had a miscarriage for him. After Yi Ziwei finished speaking, the Zhao Xueqing sisters were stunned. They were silent for a long time, and their hearts were filled with complicated feelings. Big sister, this Huang Linger is really pitiful. Zhao Qianru said with a sobbing tone, brother-in-law is also ruthless. He's too cruel. He actually erased her memory. Sigh. Zhao Xueqing sighed. She was stunned for a long time. She did not say anything. Her eyes were blank and empty as she looked at the ceiling. Zhao Qianru hurriedly said, Big sister, that's not what I meant. I don't support brother-in-law marrying another concubine. If she wants to fight for favor, I will definitely stand on your side and beat her up. She doesn't even remember Jiang Tian now. What's the point of fighting for favor? Yi Ziwei exhaled a mouthful of smoke and shook her head with a bitter smile. Jiang Tian is really too good to me. His heart must be tormented. Zhao Xueqing's eyes turned red. She wiped her tears and said, Actually, Linger has also done a lot for him, right? He is a person who values friendship. How guilty and tormented he must be in his heart. The problem is that she can have anything else, but what she wants is love. Jiang Tian already has you, so how can he give it to her? Yi Ziwei said, Big sister, as long as a man has some ability, which one of them is not a womanizer and has 3 wives and 4 concubines. Zhao Xueqing smiled and said, Jiang Tian is so outstanding. Actually, a cripple like me is not worthy of him. If there are other women who like him and can accompany him and assist him, if he is also interested, I will not stop him. Stop. Yi Ziwei hurriedly waved her hand and said, Qing, don't go astray. It's not easy for you to be in such a state. How can you give Jiang Tian to someone else? I'm not giving Jiang Tian away. It's just that when it comes to matters of the heart, who can say for sure? Let nature take its course. Zhao Xueqing thought of Huang Linger's tear-filled face and her heart throbbed with pain and sadness. Chapter 262. The next day, when Jiang Tian woke up, he saw that Zhao Xueqing had already made breakfast. He couldn't help but be furious. He pointed at Zhao Xueqing and said, "Chanru, what are you doing? You lazy bum, can your sister's hand get wet? How can I stop him? Sister woke up at 5 in the morning and I'm still sleeping. How can I stop him?" Zhao Chanru was depressed to death. This was an unexpected disaster. Seeing her sister's aggrieved face, Zhao Xueqing hurriedly said, "Jiang Tian, don't be nervous. I used your ointment on my hand and it's already healed." Jiang Tian's black jade ointment had an astonishing recovery ability. Ordinary external injuries could be healed overnight, not to mention that Xianxia used a special one. "That won't do. You should rest for a few days." Jiang Tian sat down to eat. He frowned and nagged, "Why did you wake up so early? You don't have to go to work, hubby. I booked an 8 o'clock flight in the morning. I'm going back to Linzhou immediately." Zhao Xueqing said gently. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Jiang Tian was puzzled. Then he pulled Qing'er's hand and said reluctantly, "Qing'er, are you going to stay here for a few days?" Beside him, Yi Ziwei also said anxiously, "That's right. Dad and Mom will come to see you soon." If two people love each other for a long time, why would they be together day and night? Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes and said softly, "Hubby, actually, I also want to accompany you for a few more days. But you treat me so well, how can I let you down? I have to cultivate as soon as possible and make full use of the 5-element spirit convergence array. After absorbing it, I'll accompany you." Then, Zhao Xueqing looked at Yi Ziwei apologetically and said, "Sister Ziwei, apologize to Dad and Mom on my behalf. Forgive Qing'er for being unfilial. I want to use the array as soon as possible and then accompany Dad and Mom." "All right then." Yi Ziwei had nothing else to say. She could only nod her head. While they were eating breakfast, the doorbell rang. Yi Ziwei asked a few questions through the access control, and then asked in astonishment, "Jiang Tian, Huaqing Tian, Zhao Yuankuan and Wei Feilong, 3 people are here to see you. Do you want to see them or not?" "Why are they here?" Jiang Tian wiped his mouth and stood up, saying, "Let them in." A moment later, the 3 of them came to the living room together. They first cupped their fists and bowed respectfully. "Junior greets Master Kong." Their expressions were respectful, and their eyes were filled with admiration. They were behaving like disciples. "You're too polite. In terms of martial arts, the 3 of you are my seniors. Please take a seat," Jiang Tian said politely. However, he was slightly surprised. These 3 people's clothes were ragged, and their faces were full of frostbite and sunburn. The soles of their shoes were worn through, and their faces were full of fatigue. If he had not seen them before, he would have thought that they were 3 beggars. After the guests and the host were seated, Yi Ziwei served tea. Jiang Tian said, "Everyone, it's been more than half a year since we parted at Poyang Lake last year. I've missed the 3 of you very much. We've also missed Master Kang's elegance all the time," Huaqing Tian said with a smile. Wei Feilong looked at Zhao Xueqing and said, "Master Kang, this is Madame Xian, right? She's really like a celestial being, a dragon among men." "Junior greets the 3 seniors." Zhao Xueqing bowed. Her movements were proper and elegant, as if she was a lady of the Republic of China. Jiang Tian suddenly looked at Zhao Yuankuan and said, "Brother Zhao, what's wrong with your leg? You seem to be seriously injured?" Zhao Yuankuan was originally a strong man and a martial arts grandmaster, but now he was limping. Jiang Tian scanned him with his divine sense and found that he was seriously injured. But in Huaxia, the number of people who could hurt Zhao Yuankuan could probably be counted on one hand. Zhao Yuankuan chuckled and said, "It's a small matter. Let's talk business first. Hee, the 3 of us don't visit a temple without a reason. This time, we've come to visit Master Kong because we have good news to report to Master Kong." Huaqing Tian's eyes turned cold, and he went straight to the point and said, Master Kong, there's news about the princess flower. As soon as these words came out, the entire place became silent. No one could make a sound. Really? Jiang Tian was in disbelief. His heart almost jumped out of his throat, and his hands were trembling with excitement. Qingtian took out a photo from his pocket and handed it to Jiang Tian, saying, Master Kong, please take a look. It's the princess flower, and it's 500 years old. It's about to mature. Where is it? Jiang Tian was even more shocked. In the photo, snowy peaks towered in the distance, and thousands of miles were sealed in ice. It was like a jade dragon soaring in the sky, and goose feather snowflakes fluttered in the air. But nearby, there was a red flower half the height of a person. It bloomed in the cold, like a fire phoenix dancing in the air. The location of the photo should be high in the cold, and the surrounding mountains were steep and endless, covered in white snow. What was even more shocking was that although the environment was cold, the flower was surrounded by luxuriant grass, flowers, trees, butterflies, and bees. A stream flowed by, forming an oasis that was like spring all year round. It's really the princess flower. We didn't work for nothing. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan slapped their thighs and smiled with relief. Finally found it. I finally have a pity to cultivate. Zhao Xueqing's mind was agitated, and she cried tears of joy. Her beautiful eyes seeped out big drops of tears, and her body went soft, almost falling. Reporting to Master Kong, this princess flower grows on the north slope of Mount Everest. Qingtian smiled and said, Master Kang's matter, in the eyes of us martial artists, is a big matter. After parting at Poyang Lake last year, the three of us tried everything to find this princess flower. According to the information provided by Master Kong, this flower likes cold places, but it also emits a scorching aura. So, the three of us led many disciples into the highlands, climbed the snowy mountains, and visited the famous mountains and rivers. Finally, we found this princess flower. Wuxia was vast, and there were thousands of mountains and forests. It was easier said than done to find a small princess flower in these thousands of snowy mountains. It was no exaggeration to say that it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no need for Qingtian to describe in detail. Jiang Tian already knew how big of a project it was. Qingtian smiled bitterly and said, That day, the three of us climbed Mount Everest and finally found the princess flower. Just as we were about to pluck it, a monk came and attacked us. Sigh, that old monk was so strong. My skills were not as good as his, and I was actually hit by him. My leg has been damaged ever since. Zhao Yunkuan sighed and shook his head. We knew we were no match for him, so we could only retreat. We did not bring the princess flower back. We have made a fool of ourselves in front of Master Kong. If I made a fool of Brother Zhao, would I still be human? I owe you a big favor. Jiang Tian stood up, cupped his fists and bowed deeply. Master Kong is too polite. The three of them quickly stood up and returned the bow. Brother Zhao, let me take a look at your leg. Jiang Tian gestured, and Zhao Yuankuan immediately rolled up his pants. There were strange patterns on his leg that formed a stack of green lotus flowers. The lotus flowers exuded a chilling aura, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. White fog filled the air, making it look very strange and eerie. The muscles on his injured leg had atrophied badly. It was as if he was just skin and bones. Parts of his leg had already rotted and emitted a foul stench. This is a telekinesis talisman. It's a type of psychic attack. Jiang Tian said curiously, this kind of green lotus-like talisman will restrict and deprive your body of qi and blood. It's very different from Wuxia's true qi. A sharp glint flashed across his eyes. He asked calmly, was it that monk who attacked you? Where did he come from? Even the three of you were no match for him? Yeah, I lost count of how many times I fell along the way. I can't even walk properly. Zhao Yuankuan smiled bitterly. That person should be the #1 monk in India, Master Qing Lian. 30 years ago, he came to Wuxia's Shaolin temple to preach. The old man saw him once. Qingtian said sternly. For the past 10 years, he has occupied the top of Mount Everest and claimed the princess flower as his own. He built a dojo and drank from the spirit spring to absorb the spirit chi. He has many followers in India and is blessed with the power of merit will. He is the 5th most powerful person in Southeast Asia. I'm afraid he is as powerful as a peak-level grandmaster in Wuxia. He is far more powerful than us. Oh, a bald donkey from India. How could he have the right to own a spirit flower like the princess flower? Jiang Tian smiled faintly as a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. He suddenly asked, "What is the Southeast Asia powerful list?" "Oh, that is the list of the most powerful people created by Wang Chongyan, the president of the Chinese Society of Singapore. Those who can make it to the top are the most powerful." Hu Qingtian's face darkened as he explained. Those who make it to the top 30 are as powerful as the grandmasters in Wuxia. I see. Jiang Tian nodded. Master Kong, can you undo the talisman on Brother Zhao's leg? Wei Feilong asked worriedly. Don't worry about it. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He formed hand seals with both hands and activated his divine ability, striking towards Zhao Yuankuan's injured leg. Fire element Dharma spell. Warm fire nurturing talisman. As Jiang Tian made some hand gestures, streaks of strange red runes appeared in the air. They were bright and heavy. The red light particles seemed to carry the original energy of Hongmeng. They flickered as if they were in the depths of the universe. In the end, they formed into a series of complicated talismans. Countless talismans were connected to the talismans. These talismans were filled with heat and pure vitality. It was like a small world full of life. You will be healed in 15 minutes. Jiang Tian cracked a smile and pressed the talisman on Zhao Yuankuan's injured leg. Zhao Yuankuan immediately let out a comfortable cry. He felt as if his injured leg was soaked in warm water. It was itchy and hot. At the same time, a warm current flowed into the meridians and acupoints in his leg. In fact, this was the healing power formed by the demonic flame energy in Jiang Tian's body. It could break all kinds of talismans, especially ice element talismans. It was as if it had the help of God. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, the green lotus talisman on Zhao Yuankuan's leg disintegrated and collapsed. The withered muscles quickly swelled up, and the broken blood vessels were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the living room, thousands of auspicious lights and tens of thousands of rays of light filled the air. The red light was like a mist. It was like heaven. It only took 5 minutes for Zhao Yuankuan's leg to be completely healed. It was even stronger than before. Thank you, Master Kong, for saving my life. Master Kang's Dharma spell is even more powerful than Master Green Lotus's. The 3 of them were grateful and impressed. They quickly bowed to Jiang Tian with the most respectful attitude in their lives. Don't mention it. After sitting down again, Jiang Tian immediately rolled up his sleeves and said impatiently, I'm going to get the princess flower. Don't let that old bald thief eat it first. Do you want to come? Chapter 263. Master Kong, don't worry. Wei Feilong smiled and said, the 3 of us only have one presumptuous request. We don't know if it's appropriate, but we hope that Master Kong can make it clear. President Wei, you're too polite. There's no harm in asking, Jiang Tian said with a smile. It could be said that he had always kept a respectful distance from the martial arts world in Wuxia. As long as they didn't provoke him, he would mind his own business. But at this moment, in order to help him find the D-daughter flower, these 3 gurus had gone through a lot of hardships. They had visited many famous mountains and rivers in half a year, and their mountaineering shoes were worn out. Even though Jiang Tian's state of mind was as stable as a rock, he was still somewhat moved. The distance between Jiang Tian and them suddenly narrowed a lot. He had already regarded them as his own people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bothered to treat Zhao Yuankuan's injury. Wei Feilong was also a man of wisdom. He felt the change in Jiang Tian's mood and was happy in his heart. He said, we plan to set up a heavenly alliance with Master Kong as the core. Anyone who follows Master Kong and receives guidance from Master Kong will be a member. The realm must be above the transformative stage. Heavenly Alliance. What are you doing? Jiang Tian frowned slightly. In the past 6 months, we have received information that many martial artists and supernatural ability people from all over the world have stepped into Wuxia and set off a bloody storm. They treat our martial arts world in Wuxia as if there's no one there. Huqing Tian said worriedly, the members of our Heavenly Alliance will follow Master Kang's lead and follow your orders. We will show our butcher's knife to these invaders and kill them all the way. In the battle, we will no longer use the name of our family or sect, but Heavenly Alliance. In this way, you will not make me famous in the martial arts world in Wuxia, but make me famous all over the world. Jiang Tian looked at them with a faint smile. We know that Master Kong is like the clear wind and the bright moon, with lofty aspirations and unsullied reputation. This is indeed a joke by Master Kong. Wei Feilong smiled apologetically and said, this is just to defend Wuxia's martial arts world against external insults and to hold our heads high. Jiang Tian frowned and said, but as far as I know, the Wuxia Long formation was also established to defend against foreign experts. Won't we be usurping the role of the host by doing this? Master Kong doesn't know. Wei Feilong sighed and said awkwardly, Yi Zhantian is obsessed with martial arts. He once went into seclusion for 10 years in order to reach the peak of martial arts and step into the immortal state. These mundane matters, all right, do as you please. Jiang Tian scanned the crowd and said slowly, since all of you are diligently pursuing the martial Dao, I will also give you some pointers on the martial Dao. I can also share my elixirs and formations with all of you. Thank you, Master Kong. We will never forget Master Kang's kindness for the rest of our lives. The three of them were overjoyed and knelt on the ground together. Wei Feilong was so moved that he even cried. They knew that Jiang Tian was only in his 20s and had stepped into the peak of the transcendent state and the truth of the immortal state. He could be said to be extremely talented and was a cultivator that was hard to come by in 100 or even 1,000 years. To be guided by such a genius could be said to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could not be bought with money. At this moment, they felt that the hardships they had endured for the past 6 months were all worth it. Get up. Jiang Tian helped them up and said with a smile, but I have a condition. If you kill any invaders in the future, don't tarnish my reputation. Since my debut, I have never been defeated. I don't expect you to be invincible in the future, but you must never kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise, no matter who you are, I will not let you off easily. Such lofty ideals and lofty aspirations do not disgrace us martial artists. Hearing this, their hearts skipped a beat and then they looked at Jiang Tian with great respect. Jiang Tian's words were simple and plain, but they were overflowing with a monstrous domineering aura. It was as if he was a peerless overlord who stood proudly in the world and was not afraid of even the gods and Buddhas. What was the strength of a martial artist? It was not only destructive power, but also a kind of spirit. It was a kind of self-improvement, indomitable spirit, and an awe-inspiring righteousness that would never admit defeat and never admit defeat. Of course, if you obtain my guidance in this world, how many people can be a match for you? Jiang Tian chuckled. The three of them nodded like chickens pecking at rice, overjoyed. Everyone, I am going to Mount Everest to look for the D-daughter flower. Are you willing to be my guides? Jiang Tian's face turned serious as he looked toward the southwest and asked in a deep voice. Of course, it is our honor. Huqing Tian and Zhao Yuankuan quickly bowed and cupped their fists. The D-daughter flower is next to Master Qing Lian's dojo. He guards it every day. If Master Kong wants to pick the D-daughter flower, I'm afraid there will be a battle. However, Wei Feilong was a little worried. President Wei, have you forgotten the original intention of the Heaven Alliance so quickly? Jiang Tian smiled and said, the northern foot of Mount Everest belongs to Wuxia. What is the reason for a yellow-skinned monkey from India to build a dojo there? Grandmaster Zhang's words make sense. It is an old man who is afraid to fight. Wei Feilong bowed and cupped his fists, looking ashamed. An inch of land, an inch of blood, an inch of land. Jiang Tian suddenly stood up. The moment he straightened his body, a strong and sharp aura was emitted. He was like an unsheathed sword, as if he could cut through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Only then did he reveal his true colors as a Taichu celestial lord. I want to kill Master Qing Lian and use his blood as a sacrifice for the Heaven Alliance. Although Jiang Tian's words were simple, they were domineering and powerful, shocking everyone. Jiangdan, this time I must go with you. Zhao Xueqing held Jiang Tian's hand. Her eyes were red, and her pretty face was full of worry. In order to help her find the D-Daughter flower, Jiang Tian had caused a ruckus in the Martial Arts Alliance conference. He was already in danger. Now, as the most powerful person in India, Master Qing Lian was not even a match for the 3 grandmasters. His strength was terrifying. Qing, it is useless for you to go. Jiang Tian persuaded her gently. Cultivate well in Linzhou. Ghost Kick, Li Jinwei, and the rest will be there to protect you. Although Qing was unwilling, she knew that Jiang Tian was telling the truth. She would only be a burden to Jiang Tian if she went there. She thought for a long time and said reluctantly, I will listen to you. But you have to promise that you will not be hurt and that you will return safely. Don't worry. Master Qing Lian is no match for me. Jiang Tian said and walked out of the door without looking back. He had an indomitable spirit. When Jiang Tian, accompanied by the 3 grandmasters, set off in the southwest direction, toward the Tibetan area, toward Mount Everest, a secret message began to circulate among the upper echelons of the world's powerful organizations. A picture was placed in front of all the major underground organizations around the world. This picture was the picture of the D-Daughter flower that Hu Qingtian had shown to Jiang Tian. This is the catalytic spirit spring. It is definitely the purest form of catalytic spirit spring. It can stimulate the potential of the human body and achieve the evolution of the human body, turning ordinary people into talented arcanists. It must be. Look at those plants that can only grow in the tropics. They are growing on Mount Everest. How strong is its vitality? Immediately, the upper echelons of the underground organizations came to a conclusion. Moreover, it is an endless supply of catalytic spirit spring. It has formed an inexhaustible source of catalytic spirit spring. An arcanist exclaimed. Drinking a mouthful of catalytic spirit spring can stimulate one's potential, not to mention so much of it. Go get the catalytic spirit spring. If you drink so much catalytic spirit spring, you will become a peerless powerhouse and step into the immortal state. Many people were tempted. For a moment, the entire underground world was in an uproar. From Europe to North America, from East Asia to Southeast Asia, many powerhouses turned their attention to East Asia, Wuxia, Tibet, and the snow-covered world at the northern foot of the main peak. Wuxia is guarded by the Long Formation. It is a forbidden area for the Dark Ones. Can we go there? However, some people were a little timid. We can take a detour from India and Nepal. After plucking the princess flower, we can run away. Someone suggested. Take a detour from Nepal? Southeast Asia is the territory of the Chinese Society of Singapore. Wang Chongyan will skin you alive. Someone calmly analyzed. Moreover, all the major forces have been alerted. Japan's Sakura Society, Russia's Winter Soldiers, America's Blue Storm, Europe's Pantheon, the Covenant of Darkness. How powerful are they? I'm afraid they will turn the world upside down. The weak will die if they are caught in the crossfire. Also, I heard that the #1 monk in India, Qing Lian, built a dojo there 10 years ago for the catalytic spirit spring. Will he just sit back and watch everyone take it away? As soon as that was said, many of the Dark World's powerhouses fell silent. That was right. The news had been leaked. The catalytic spirit spring could be said to be the favorite of all the major organizations in the world. When the time came, the overlords would gather and they would fight to the death. Ordinary people would be nothing more than cannon fodder. Was it worth it to increase their combat power? Most of the small and medium-sized organizations had given up on the idea. However, some of the super forces were unwilling to give up. The International Spell Conference is going to be held in Singapore. Unfortunately, the Divine Herb and the Catalytic Spirit Spring have appeared. In the past year, the Chinese Society of Singapore has lost a few elites. Master Kumin Thong, Baong of the Heavens, ancient Muay Thai expert Meng Kong, and many others. If we don't increase our strength, I'm afraid that the Sakura Society and the Great Circle will suppress us. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can't miss it. In the Singapore Chinese Club, inside a magnificent European-style hall that was brightly lit, an old man in his 70s stood tall and straight. He had a pair of sharp eyes as he presided over the meeting. He was Wang Chongyan. He was already 110 years old, but he was still hale and hearty. Wang Chongyan was known as the Guqin Swordmaster. He was able to form chi weapons from the strings of the Guqin and produce soul-breaking demonic sound. He was at the peak of the transcendent state and was rumored to have reached half a step away from the immortal state. He was on the same level as Yi Tianren, the father of Yi Zhantian. He was much more powerful than Lin Zhenyu, Hua Qingtian, Hong Tianzhao, and many others. He was already famous during the Republic of China. He had formed the Blue Cloth Society and was on the same level as Huang Jinrong and Du Yuesheng. Later, before the Battle of the River Crossing, he lost to Yi Tianren. Knowing that the situation was hopeless, he left Huaxia and went to Singapore from Nanyang. He changed the Blue Cloth Society into the Chinese Society of Singapore. There were Huaxia spellcasters, martial artists, and Nanyang sorcery masters. Chapter 264. By now, the Chinese Society of Singapore was no longer limited to Singapore, but had spread to the entire Southeast Asia. Many ship tycoons, hotel tycoons, and tycoons were under his protection. In Singapore, even the Prime Minister had to show him respect. He was like the king of the land. But Yi Zhantian is in charge of Huaxia. Will we be in trouble if we go there? Oyila the Immortal Reach asked with furrowed brows. Her appearance was aged, and she had the skin of a chicken and the head of a crane. Her feet were thin, and her figure was stooped. She wore a black cloak and held a withered wooden cane in her hand, and her entire body emitted a ghastly and gloomy aura. She was a famous sorcerer in Malaysia and ranked 4th on the Southeast Asian power ranking. She was an expert in black magic and was an expert in black magic. Legend had it that she could kill someone from 100 miles away. In Malaysia, she was like the Grand Preceptor and had many followers. Wang Chongyan's face darkened as he heard her words. He sneered and said, Yi Zhantian is nothing. If not for his father Yi Tianren's Dharma artifact, he would not have been able to defeat me. He was a powerful cultivator of the same generation as Yi Tianren and had a grudge against the Yi clan. How could he take Yi Zhantian, a junior, seriously? That Master Green Lotus is cultivating in the territory of Huaxia. It's like riding on his neck and pissing on him, but he doesn't care at all. He's just a coward. How ridiculous. He's just a clown. Before he finished his words, he straightened his back and unleashed a powerful energy that swept across the area. His eyes flashed with lightning as he pushed Oyila back a step. Wang Chongyan said coldly, If I can get my hands on the catalyzing spirit spring, I will be able to enter the immortal state. By then, even if that old bastard Yi Tianren comes out of seclusion, I'll be able to kill him with a snap of my fingers. As for that little kid Jiang Taichu who rose to prominence recently, he's even less of a match. Celestial, could it be that he's not dead yet? A tall and burly man asked in a low voice. Oyila looked at him with a hint of fear in her eyes. Although the man was sitting, his head was almost touching the ceiling. The muscles all over his body seemed to be cast from fine iron, shining with a strange luster. He was known as Tyson the Elephant. He was a physical awakened from Cambodia and ranked 10th in Southeast Asia. His physical body was strong, impervious to fire and water, and invulnerable to swords and spears. Furthermore, his strength was immense, and his combat power was surging. He could uproot towering trees and smash boulders with his fists and feet. His strength was not inferior to Hua Xia's external physique refinement grandmasters. Humph, how could these half-step divine stage old fellows be willing to die so easily? It's just that he's afraid of nuclear weapons, so he's been training in seclusion. Wang Chongyan snorted coldly and stood in front of the window with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked at the sky for a long time, and no one knew what he was thinking. Senior Wang, I think we should add more firepower. Below the seat, a bearded man with sharp eyes and wearing a camouflage combat uniform asked in surprise. Oyila looked at him with sinister eyes, thinking that this guy would definitely not let go of such a good opportunity to make a contribution. His name was Ba Tu, and he was the leader of the Black Wings mercenary group that ran rampant in the Mekong River basin of the Golden Triangle. The Black Wings mercenary group was also an external organization of the Chinese society in Singapore. It was a private military organization with thousands of members and was legally equipped with heavy firepower. Their influence was so great that they could influence the coup of a small country. Even the big shots like Kun Sa had to retreat when they saw him. Ba Tu had been enlightened by Wang Chongyan. He could use his black wings and move as fast as lightning. Just like the legendary Lei Zhenzi, he was the sixth most powerful man in Southeast Asia. Wang Chongyan nodded. His eyes were sharp as he lowered his body and said, "This time, Oyila will lead the Black Wing mercenaries to move out together. You must bring back the divine grass and the spiritual spring water. The more the better." Jiang Tian, on the other hand, knew nothing about this. The group of four flew to Lhasa City, Tibet, and then drove an off-road vehicle to the direction of Mount Everest. It seems that Mount Everest is not a mysterious place anymore. Anyone can come here. How did Master Green Lotus keep the Princess Flower from being discovered? The vehicle stopped at the foot of Mount Everest. The four of them got out of the vehicle and scanned the surroundings. Jiang Tian could not help but frown. There was a stretch of tents at the foot of Mount Everest. There was also a lot of trash, human excrement, climbing equipment, and so on. Mount Everest was now the most sought-after mountain climbers from all over the world. They were wearing windbreakers, down jackets, one-piece hiking shoes, headlamps, climbing ropes, and oxygen packs. Mount Everest was the highest mountain in the world. It was extremely cold, lacked oxygen, and was very dangerous. The mortality rate of climbing Mount Everest was as high as 4%. He built a green lotus temple there and set up a small concealment array. Huaqing Tian replied, "It looked like a fog. It took us a long time to find it." "Oh, I see," Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Although Jiang Tian was known as Kong Teichu in the martial arts world of Hua Xia, no one could recognize him standing in this place. However, the appearance of the four of them attracted a lot of attention and discussion. "Oh my, he's only wearing a long-sleeved shirt. Isn't he afraid of freezing to death? He didn't bring any equipment. Does he want to suffocate to death from lack of oxygen? For idiots. They're here to die." This place was already 2,000 meters above sea level, and the temperature was very low, reaching below zero. Even a drop of water would turn into ice. However, Jiang Tian was only wearing a thin cotton shirt, and the three master-level masters were only wearing normal mountaineering clothes, which were relatively thin. For a moment, the climbers looked at Jiang Tian as if he was an idiot. Their eyes were full of mockery and ridicule. "Isn't that Zhang Yilin's cousin, Jiang Tian?" Suddenly, a girl sitting on a rock and cooking rice in a pressure cooker saw Jiang Tian. She was slightly stunned and murmured subconsciously. Behind him sat an old man who was about 60 years old. He looked a little weak and was wearing an oxygen mask to take in oxygen. Jiang Tian turned his head subconsciously and glanced at the girl. Her voice was very low, but how could she avoid Jiang Tian's divine sense? Jiang Tian also found the girl a little familiar, but he couldn't figure out her identity at the moment. Seeing Jiang Tian looking at her, the girl was more certain of Jiang Tian's identity. She walked quickly and said with a smile, "Jiang Tian, I'm Gu Qingqing, Zhang Yilin's classmate. I went to Linzhou to find you before. Are you feeling better?" "Oh, it's you," Jiang Tian patted his head and smiled as if he had suddenly realized something. Why are you here? Zhang Yilin was the daughter of the fourth uncle of the Zhang family in Yanjing. He had always been close to her. When she was a child, she was seriously ill and had been taken care of by Jiang Zhixing for a few years. However, when she recovered, she returned to the Zhang family. Now, she should still be studying at Yanjing University. Zhang Yilin had been very close to Jiang Tian since she was a child. It could be said that in the cold and heartless Zhang family, only Zhang Yilin and his fourth uncle's family had brought him a little warmth. After Jiang Tian caused trouble and left Linzhou, she had asked Gu Qingqing to go to Linzhou several times and left tens of thousands of yuan. At that time, Jiang Tian had already been poisoned by Wu Chaohui, so he had a very vague memory of Gu Qingqing. Oh, my dad and I are doing an archaeological project to find a relic. What about you? Are you here to travel and climb mountains? Gu Qingqing was in her 20s. She was petite and had delicate facial features. Her skin was white and clear, and she looked a little immature and childish. She looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. She felt that Jiang Tian seemed to have recovered from his mental illness. However, it didn't seem right to come to Mount Everest wearing these clothes without any equipment. Yes. I'm just looking around. Jiang Tian nodded. He thought to himself, how can I have time to travel? You? Why are you wearing so little clothes? Gu Qingqing ran into the tent and pulled out a mountaineering jacket for Jiang Tian. She said, this is my dad's. It should fit you. Hurry up and put it on. Come and eat something. With Jiang Tian's physique, although he was still immortal, he had been tempered by the chaos creation incantation. How could this little bit of cold and lack of oxygen hurt him at all? However, seeing Gu Qingqing's good intentions, Jiang Tian couldn't refuse, so he put it on. There's some yak meat stew here. If you want to climb Mount Everest, you need a lot of stamina and nutrition. Gu Qingqing opened the pressure cooker and filled a few bowls for Jiang Tian and the others. Jiang Tian saw Gu Qingqing's warm and considerate attitude and had a good impression of her. He sat on the stone and chatted with her while eating. Old mister, how should I address you? Jiang Tian ate the yak meat in big mouthfuls. It tasted good. You flatter me. My name is Gu Baixian. I'm from the Gu family in Yanjing. I'm a professor in the Department of Archaeology at Yanjing University. Gu Baixian was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. His face was pale and blue. He cupped his hands and said weakly, Gu Baixian? Who is Gu Songhai to you? Wu Qingtian was suddenly stunned and interrupted. That's my big brother. Do you know him? Gu Baixian was also a little surprised. The Gu family was a small martial arts family and wasn't very famous in Wuxia. However, his big brother Gu Songhai only knew martial artists. This old man actually knew him. Was he also a martial artist? And he seemed to be Jiang Tian's follower. Then who is Jiang Tian? Oh, I've heard of him, but I've never met him. Wu Qingtian frowned. Since the Gu family was a martial arts family, why would they have someone who was an archaeology professor? Moreover, this person's aura was weak, and he didn't seem to have any martial arts cultivation. It was really strange. Old Mr. Gu, your body seems to be a little weak. Jiang Tian looked at Gu Baixian, who was wrapped in a sleeping bag and leaning against a stone, and said with a smile, Yes, I'm old and useless. I've been an archaeologist all my life and have explored all kinds of famous mountains, rivers, and underground caves. I've been to Mount Everest 5 or 6 times. I didn't expect that I would almost die before I even reached the foot of the mountain. Gu Baixian said with a bitter smile, panting. Old Mr. Gu, let me take a look for you. Jiang Tian didn't wait for him to refuse. He took his pulse and scanned him with his divine sense. Old Mr. Gu, you must have fallen ill 5 years ago. Your whole body feels cold, and your qi and blood are not flowing smoothly. When it's cloudy, rainy, or snowy weather, your chest will ache faintly, and you'll feel dizzy. In severe cases, you'll even faint. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Jiang Tian, how could you tell? Your medical skills are simply amazing. Gu Qingqing hugged Jiang Tian's arm with a face full of surprise. Then she suddenly realized something and said, "That's right, that's right. Your family is a family of doctors, so you must know medical skills. That means your illness has been cured." Chapter 265. Ahem, you're taking advantage of me. Feeling the softness in his arm, Jiang Tian coughed awkwardly. Gu Qingqing blushed and quickly let go of Jiang Tian's arm. Gu Baixian already knew that Jiang Tian was not an ordinary person. His eyes flashed with surprise, and then he asked in a low voice, "Jiang Tian, can you cure my illness?" Of course. Jiang Tian knew that someone had injected a cold, genuine qi seal into Gu Baixian's body. It sealed several acupoints and meridians of his Shanzhong acupoint. If these seals were not removed, he could live for another 3 years at most. Moreover, this seal was a bit like a magic seal. It was much more advanced than the sealing of acupoints. It was very difficult to remove, and it could even be activated from a distance and take his life at any time. Jiang Tian was about to treat him, but Gu Baixian glanced to the left with fear and said in a low voice, "Jiang Tian, don't worry. I'll find you when this archaeological operation is over." "It's a warrior, and he knows a little bit of magic?" Jiang Tian followed his gaze and looked over. He saw a young man with long hair sitting on the hood of a Wrangler off-road vehicle. He was wearing leather clothes inlaid with rivets and was sipping Highland barley wine from an exquisite silver wine pot. He had obviously heard the conversation between him and Gu Baixian. He looked at him with a faint smile as if saying, "If you dare to treat me, I'll kill you with one slap." Jiang Tian was not surprised by this kind of strange cultivator. He was too lazy to pay attention to him, but he smiled faintly and said, "Don't be afraid. I'll treat you." While speaking, his right hand pressed and rubbed Gu Baixian's chest. At the same time, several invisible healing talismans were cast, directly breaking the seal. Gu Baixian immediately felt relaxed and warm. He felt indescribably comfortable. He hurriedly said, "Thank you, Brother Jiang." "Dad, you're cured." Gu Qingqing could not believe it. She looked at Jiang Tian with admiration and said, "Jiang Tian, you're so awesome. How did you do it?" The moment Jiang Tian broke the restriction, the long-haired young man's entire body shook. His chest was filled with disgust, and then he jumped off the carriage with a gloomy face and approached Jiang Tian. He shouted angrily, "Bastard, you want to die? How dare you break my restriction?" "Wu Tiankuan, don't hurt Brother Jiang. Although the restriction has been broken, I will still help you find the map of the ruins of immortality." Gu Baixian quickly stood up and anxiously stopped him. "Incomplete map of the ruins of immortality? It's the incomplete map of the ruins of immortality again." Jiang Tian's heart stirred. This Wu guy must have threatened Gu Baixian for the incomplete map of the ruins of immortality. However, Gu Baixian was not a martial artist. How would he know about this? He didn't have time to think about it. He slowly stood up and said with a smile, "My family has been practicing medicine for generations. It's my responsibility to save lives and heal the injured. Did I offend you? If you scram now, I'll spare your life." He had already seen through this kid's cultivation. Although he was a cultivator of both magic and martial arts, his martial arts were only at the peak of internal force, and his spells were only at the entry level. This kind of strength could allow him to do whatever he wanted in the secular world, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was nothing. "You're crazy. How dare you break my restriction and tell me to scram? Do you know that I'm from the Wu family?" Wu Tiankuan smiled proudly and said, "In the Yungue Tibetan area, the Wu family is the overlord. If you provoke me, you'll die very quickly." He seems to be Hero Wu's grandson. Hua Qingtian and the others looked at each other and then advised, "Little brother, don't do anything. This is Master Kong. I don't care if he's Master Kong, Master Onion, or Master Garlic. He's going to die today." Wu Tiankuan laughed proudly, pointing at Jiang Tian as he spoke arrogantly. Before he could finish his words, Jiang Tian slapped him across the face. Smith. There was a loud sound. Wu Tianquan was sent flying a few meters away. He lay on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood with broken teeth. The person who can threaten me in this world hasn't been born yet. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "How dare a piece of trash like you point your finger at me? Even your grandfather wouldn't dare to do that." Wu Tianquan lay on the ground and shook his head for a long time before he realized that he had been hit. He could not help but be shocked and angry. He got up and pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted crazily, "How dare you hit me? Brothers, kill him for me." Immediately, 5 or 6 brothers came out of the car with pistols in their hands. The barrels of the pistols were pointed at Jiang Tian, and they surrounded Jiang Tian fiercely. "Guns! Something's going to happen." Seeing this, the surrounding mountaineers were scared out of their wits. They ran away in panic, afraid that they would be implicated. "Young Master Wu, don't be angry. If you're still worried, just give me another seal. I won't ask anyone to undo it. Don't kill him. He didn't mean it." Seeing this, Gu Baixian was so scared that he almost fainted. He hurried forward and begged, "If you dare to kill Jiang Tian, then kill me first. Without me, you will never find the map of the ruins of immortality." Gu Qingqing was also scared out of her wits. She had never thought that Jiang Tian would dare to hit Wu Tianquan. Although Jiang Tian was from the Jiang family of Jinlin City, such a family was nothing compared to the Wu family of southwest China. After all, they were a martial arts family. Although she was so scared that her delicate body was trembling uncontrollably, she still used her weak body to block Jiang Tian. Seeing this, Jiang Tian was slightly moved. This world was not so cold. It was not always a snob, but a place where the strong stepped on the weak. For example, Gu Baixian and his daughter knew how to repay kindness. They would even use their lives to protect him. "Wu Tianquan, stop. He is Kong Techu. If you dare disrespect him again, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Wei Feilong yelled. He had always been kind to others and did not want to kill each other in the martial arts world. If the Wu family went up against Jiang Tian, they would be dead. It would be a disaster for the martial arts world. Who cares about him? Let him die. That's right. How dare he offend Master Kong? Hua Qingtian and Zhao Yuanquan were gloating. The martial arts world had always been filled with disputes. Zhao Yuanquan, Hua Qingtian, and Wu Yingxiong were both veteran grandmasters, so there were some conflicts between them. Moreover, Wu Yingxiong had always been arrogant and conceited. He did not take the martial arts world of the Central Plains seriously, and his personality was not likable. Last year, the Martial Arts Alliance Conference was held in Gan Province, but Wu Yingxiong did not attend. It was obvious that their relationship had become distant. "I don't care what he is. He is too spicy, too long, and too smelly. He will die if he offends me." Wu Tianquan pointed at Jiang Tian arrogantly and bellowed, "Kneel down and kowtow to me, and I will leave your body intact." "Oh, is everyone gone?" Jiang Tian looked around and said slowly, "Then I can start a massacre." What? Wu Tianquan was taken aback. Before he could understand what Jiang Tian meant, Jiang Tian had already made his move. Crack, crack, crack. Jiang Tian directly slashed out a demonic flame chi weapon, like mercury flowing down the ground, directly slashing the bodies of those gunmen. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, the gunmen's bodies instantly exploded. Moreover, they burned with flames that soared into the sky. In the next moment, they turned into red ashes that were blown away by the wind and disappeared without a trace. What? Wu Tianquan was so scared that he almost collapsed to the ground. Demon flame chi weapon, chi manifestation, peak transcendent state cultivation. It's him. By then he had figured out Jiang Tian's identity. He looked at Jiang Tian in fear as if he was looking at the devil. Before he could decide whether to fight or kneel down and beg for mercy, Jiang Tian said calmly, "You disrespect me. How dare you disrespect me? I'll cripple your cultivation as punishment." Before he could finish, Jiang Tian flicked his right index finger and the finger aura missed its target. Bang! With a loud bang, Wu Tianquan was thrown 7 or 8 meters away. He lay on the ground like a dead dog. His sternum had caved in and he spat out blood. The finger aura had damaged all of his acupoints and meridians. He would never be able to cultivate again. However, he did not dare to act rashly. He said with fear, "Thank you, Master Kong, for sparing my life. I deserve it. I will never seek revenge." He is a martial artist? How can he suppress Wu Tiankuan? He won't even dare to seek revenge. Gu Baixian's heart was pounding. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Although he was not proficient in martial arts, he still had some knowledge. Jiang Tian's demonic flame chi weapon and the finger radiance that hit the air to injure people were simply like a god. He was definitely a top expert. "Jiangtan, how can you be so powerful?" Gu Qingqing was also shocked. She could not believe it. Wu Tiankuan was like a devil in her eyes. She hated and feared him, but in the end, fear prevailed. Just 2 years ago, when she went to visit Jiang Tian was still sometimes normal and sometimes crazy. Not to mention when he was crazy, even when he was normal, he was extremely mediocre and useless. But now, Jiang Tian had made him kneel and submit with a single move, causing her to revere Jiang Tian even more. "Get out of here." Jiang Tian waved his hand. He was too lazy to deal with this kind of ant as long as he did not offend him. Wu Tiankuan hurriedly climbed into the off-road vehicle and drove away in fear. After he was far away, the mountaineers slowly returned to the camp. However, the gazes with which they looked at Jiang Tian were already different from before. They were filled with fear and dread, and they avoided him somewhat. They were far away and did not see how Jiang Tian killed the man. However, since the man took out a gun and was subdued by Jiang Tian, it was enough to show that Jiang Tian was powerful. "Professor Gu, why is the Wu family targeting you?" Jiang Tian asked with a frown. The next moment, he added with a smile, "If you feel inconvenient, don't tell me. After all, this was related to the map of the ruins of immortality. If the man did not want to talk about it, Jiang Tian would not force him. Benefactor, you saved my life. Why would I hide it from you?" Gu Baixian bowed deeply and said gratefully and respectfully, "You also know that the Gu family is a small martial arts family. It is not ranked in Wuxia and can't be compared with the giants like the Wu family. However, my father accidentally learned that there is a ruins of immortality in Wuxia. It is an ancient cultivation relic. There is a sea of medicine and spiritual energy. Once you enter, you can easily step into the immortal state and become a deity. My father wanted the family to enter the ruins of immortality, so he arranged for my brother to practice martial arts, and I applied for the Department of Archaeology at Yenjing University. I studied for a lifetime and searched for the secrets of the ruins of immortality." He said with deep emotion, "It can be said that I have read a lot of information over the past few decades. Through various ancient records, I believe that the ruins of immortality really exist." Chapter 266. This should be a small independent space, or a parallel space, which was isolated from the secular world by a super large magic array in the antiquity times. Just like the Peach Blossom Spring recorded in the Book of Peach Blossom Spring, the place where people from Wu Ling entered should be a small immortal ruins. In response, Jiang Tian nodded slightly. After all, in the outer space, many immortal emperors and immortal venerables would create their own small worlds. This was nothing. It was even possible to create a universe after becoming a Hongmeng god. Huaqing Tian, Zhao Yuankuan, and Wei Feilong looked at each other with some surprise. In fact, they had heard some rumors about the ruins of immortality, but they were all vague and illusory. They did not expect this archaeology professor to know more. Later, I have seen many records in unpopular ancient books. There were many gods and spirit beasts that entered our world. They preached, took in believers, killed, and bullied. I suspect that they came from the ruins of immortality. This record does not only exist in the ancient books of Wuxia, but also in the Tibetan Buddhist scriptures, ancient Indian books, and ancient Hebrew books. There are many legends about the ruins of immortality. There were a few ancient maps and scrolls that were lost in the secular world. However, no one knows how many maps there are and what the patterns look like. However, there is a consensus that as long as you find the map of the ruins of immortality, you can find the way to enter the ruins of immortality. In the Ming Dynasty's notes, Western Jingten, and Quiet Window, there are clear records that there was a divine monkey that broke through the void and came to our world. It once crossed the sea in one step and came to the Himalayas. It picked a kind of divine grass and saved its injured and dying brother. In the ancient Indian religion, this monkey was called Hanuman. Moreover, it and its tribe once cultivated and lived on Mount Everest. These two notes are very credible. I found them in the ancient tombs of two martial artists that I excavated. The author of Western Jingten was a great eunuch in the palace of the Ming Dynasty. It is said that he was also a master. The author of Quiet Window was also a master of martial arts. According to the records, this monkey has fiery eyes and can transform. It has boundless strength and can flatten a mountain with a single strike of its iron staff. It's very similar to the image of Sun Wukong in Journey to the West. Jiang Tian interrupted. However, at this moment, his heart trembled. Back when he was in the outer realm, he had inquired about Empress Fu Yao and the Princess Flower, and he had also learned of a great secret. The Princess Flower had a guardian spirit beast called the golden-eyed battle ape. The golden-eyed battle ape clan needed to absorb the extreme yang energy within the Princess Flower, while the Princess Flower liked to eat the feces of the golden-eyed fire monkeys. Could this so-called divine monkey be the same as the golden-eyed battle ape from the outer realms? That's very likely. Perhaps Wu Chenjian heard or saw the legend of this monkey, so he began to create literary works. Gu Baixian did not think that Jiang Tian was joking. He nodded and said, "After much research, we came to the conclusion that it had lived on Mount Everest and might have even died here. So, we came here many times to search. Finally, Qing Cheng and I found a cave with the skeleton of an ape inside. However, we didn't find the legendary incomplete map of the ruins of immortality. Because I was engaged in this research, I also visited many cultivators and eccentrics. After a while, Wu Xiong found out about it. He captured me and interrogated me about the secret of the ruins of immortality. He wanted me to lead them to the cave." Gu Baixian sighed. "But it was strange. We went up Mount Everest 5 more times, but we could not find the cave anymore. This is already the 6th time. Maybe it's a concealment array." Jiang Tian had some understanding in his heart. For a spirit beast like this that had already gained sentience and was comparable to an immortal state or Daoist body cultivator, how could its dojo be discovered so easily? "Mr. Jiang, if you want to find the cave, I'll lead the way for you." Gu Baixian volunteered. "You just need to tell me which mountain it is on." Jiang Tian said calmly. "That one, Luo Zifeng. It's a little lower than Mount Everest, but it's still the 4th highest mountain in the world. It's 8,516 meters above sea level." Gu Baixian said, "You don't have to lead the way. It's not a problem for me." Jiang Tian said calmly. More than 8,000 meters, or 16 miles, at the foot of the mountain, Jiang Tian's divine sense could almost cover it instantly. Even if he could not explore it at once, he could climb to the middle and cover it. The cave had a concealment array, so it would be difficult for Gu Baixian to find it. It was better to find it alone. At this time, Jiang Tian suddenly thought of something and asked, "By the way, since Mr. Gu is a master in the archaeological circle, you should know ancient characters, right?" "I wouldn't dare to call myself a master, but to be honest, I can recognize 1 or 2 ancient characters of various dynasties, including bone inscriptions, oracle bone inscriptions, bell cauldron inscriptions, stone drum inscriptions, and so on." Speaking of this, although Gu Baixian's words were polite, there was a faintly discernible pride in the corners of his eyes and brows. "Well, if you have time, I'd like to ask for your advice." Jiang Tian had just remembered the copy of the remnant scroll of the ruins of immortality that he saw at his grandfather's place, so he asked. He wondered if Gu Baixian could recognize the strange characters on the remnant map. But he came in a hurry and did not bring it with him. It would be great if he had a portable storage device. Whether it was a storage ring or 100 treasures pouch, it would be more convenient to carry anything. Old Gu, you're not feeling well. Go back first. Jiang Tian pondered for a moment. Seeing that Gu Baixian and his daughter were still looking at him inquiringly, he suddenly smiled and said, "Well, thank you, Mr. Jiang." Gu Baixian thanked him verbally, but there was a hint of reluctance on his face. He wanted to say something but stopped. Jiang Tian immediately understood and said indifferently, "Brother Zhao, escort Gu Baixian back to Yanjing. If anyone dares to hurt him, kill them without mercy." Zhao Yuankuan stood up and replied, "Brother Wei, say hello to Wu Yingxiong. If he dares to harass Professor Gu again, I'll kill his whole family." Jiang Tian said indifferently. Wei Feilong hurriedly replied, "No problem. Thank you, Mr. Jiang. You're my savior." Gu Baixian held Jiang Tian's hand with tears in his eyes. It could be said that Jiang Tian was being a good person to the end and helping him to the east. For him, he did not hesitate to offend the martial arts Wu family. What kind of kindness was this? "All right," Jiang Tian asked again, "do you have any fruits here? Peaches would be best. Also, give me some yak meat." "What a coincidence, I do have some peaches. What do you want them for?" Gu Qingqing's face was filled with confusion. Then, she suddenly realized something and said, "Oh right, you didn't bring any food, right? Since we're leaving, I'll leave these for you." After handing over the items, Gu Baixian and his daughter said goodbye and were about to return home. Jiang Tian suddenly looked at Gu Qingqing and smiled. "All right, is Yilin doing well?" "Yilin is still studying at Yanjing University. She's my dad's student. She's doing well, but she often misses you." Gu Qingqing looked at Jiang Tian reluctantly. She mustered up her courage and said, "Jiang Tian, you must come to Yanjing when you have time. See Yilin and me." "I'll definitely go." Jiang Tian sensed the longing in her eyes but did not take it to heart. Girls around her age would be curious and have a good impression of him when they saw his methods. Gu Qingqing packed her bags and quickly boarded the off-road vehicle to return home with her father, Zhao Yuankuan. After driving for a while, Gu Qingqing turned around and glanced at Jiang Tian. She saw that he was still standing there. For some reason, she felt a sense of loneliness and desolation from Jiang Tian. This feeling made her a little absent-minded. "I heard from Zhang Yilin that Jiang Tian lost his mind because a large family in Yanjing broke off their engagement. He must be feeling very bitter." Gu Qingqing still felt some bitterness in her heart. However, she immediately curled her lips and snorted coldly. "It's just that Jiang Tian suddenly became so powerful. I wonder if that blind young miss would cry from regret if she knew?" After Jiang Tian saw them off, he immediately said to Huaqing Tian and Zhao Yuankuan, "Let's go. Let's go take a look at the situation of the princess flower." "Master Kong, let's go." Before Huaqing Tian even finished his words, he had already shot toward Mount Everest like an arrow. He flew up and down on the snowy mountain like a skylark, full of spirit. "Old Huaqing, nice move." Jiang Tian carried a pressure cooker, a charcoal fire, an alcohol stove, peaches, yak meat, and other items. He took a seemingly slow step forward, but in reality he covered more than 100 meters and soon caught up to Huaqing Tian. Mount Everest was a dangerous place for ordinary people. However, for Jiang Tian, it was as easy as walking on flat ground. If he hadn't deliberately slowed down, Huaqing Tian and Zhao Yuankuan wouldn't have been able to catch up. When Jiang Tian led Huaqing Tian and Zhao Yuankuan to the mountainside, it was already late at night. Suddenly, a strange scene appeared at the top of Mount Everest. In the sky, rays of multicolored light, like auroras, floated in the night sky like colorful ribbons. A natural phenomenon. Something important must have appeared. The princess flower is about to ripen. Jiang Tian squinted his eyes. A surge of divine sense rose like a monstrous wave and swept across thousands of meters of altitude toward the top of Mount Everest. When any important Dharma treasure or earth-shattering spirit fruit or medicine appeared, there would be a natural phenomenon. The first thing that came to Jiang Tian's mind was the princess flower. The princess flower is about to ripen? Then why don't we go and pick it? Huaqing Tian and Wei Feilong asked anxiously. Jiang Tian didn't say anything. He turned around with a stern face and sent another surge of divine sense toward Luo Zifeng. No, we should go to Luo Zifeng first and catch a monkey. Then we can make a pot of peach soup. Also, we need to go down the mountain and find a gong. After a while, Jiang Tian withdrew his divine sense and said leisurely, Catch a monkey? Make peach soup? That's strange. Huaqing Tian and Wei Feilong were confused. Shouldn't we go and find the princess flower first? I heard along the way that there are experts who want to snatch it. Don't worry, they can't take it away. Jiang Tian said calmly. Gu Baixian was right. Those notes are not legends or myths, they are history. There really was a golden-eyed battle ape who once broke through the void and came to this world from the immortal ruins. He sighed and said, Also, we have underestimated the golden-eyed battle ape. It has become a demonic immortal, and an earth immortal at that. He has set up a sealing array around the princess flower. Let alone us, even a half-step immortal state warrior would be killed. Chapter 267. The golden-eyed battle ape clan had exceptionally strong physical bodies. They were hot-blooded, warlike, and arrogant. They were a very powerful clan even in outer space. A golden-eyed battle ape without any cultivation was already invulnerable to transcendent state cultivators, let alone a golden-eyed battle ape that had reached the earth-level deity level. He was as powerful as a deity. Even the sealing array he had left behind could not withstand the attack of a half-step immortal state cultivator. So powerful! Huaqing Tian and Wei Ho exclaimed in shock. They had witnessed Jiang Tian's power with their own eyes. He was at the peak of the transcendent state or even half-step to the immortal state, and he was a cultivator of both Dharma spells and martial arts. However, he still couldn't pluck the DNYU flower. Don't worry about that for now. There's no time to lose. Let's split up. Elder Hua and I will catch the golden-eyed monkey and make peach soup. As for Wei Feilong, you hurry down the mountain and find a gong. Jiang Tian said lightly. Then we will meet at the top of Mount Everest. Remember, don't take the DNYU flower even if you see it. Otherwise, you will lose your life. Although the two of them were confused, they didn't dare to ask more questions. They answered at the same time and went their separate ways. So, the legend of the mystic realm of deity is true. Immortals really exist. Huaqing Tian and Wei Feilong's hearts were burning with excitement. They had been cultivating for their entire lives, but they were stuck at the peak of the transcendent state and couldn't even reach the half-step immortal state. However, if they could follow Jiang Tian and enter the mystic realm of deity, wouldn't they be able to break through the shackles and become immortals? On the east side of Mount Everest, a group of about a dozen people was traveling on a snow-covered mountain path. Senior brother, is there really a treasure? A delicate and pretty disciple was walking swiftly on the precipitous rocks and ice blocks like a galloping horse, and he was panting as he asked. Yes, I am certain. I heard that a divine herb had appeared. Overlords from the east and the west are all here. The eldest senior brother, Wang Haitao, who was in his 40s, had a lean face, sword-like eyebrows, and was full of heroic spirit. He wore a Daoist robe and carried a long sword on his back. His sleeves fluttered in the wind as if he was a peerless swordsman who had walked out of a period drama. He had already traveled 30 kilometers, but his expression did not change. His breath was long and steady, showing his exquisite inner force cultivation. So many experts have come. That's good. Let's let them experience the strength of our Dian song. Junior brother Qin Xiu rubbed his fists. Eldest senior brother Wang Haitao's eyes flashed with a trace of fanaticism as he said, They only think that the so-called catalyst spring water is valuable, but they don't know that the divine grass is the most valuable. If we pick them and offer them to Master, Master will definitely be able to break through to the deity realm. Everyone hurry up and reach the summit. That's right, if we get the divine medicine and offer it to Master, Master will definitely reward us with medicinal pills and cultivation methods. Everyone was in high spirits and cheered each other on. His footsteps quickened as he climbed the mountain. Yinsong sects more than 10 people climbed the mountain in a very special way. When they encountered a glacier that they could not climb, they would connect their heads and tails and climb up like a long centipede. Once they reached the top, the dozen or so people dispersed again. At the southern foot of Mount Everest, in the thick white fog, an A-Star B-3 helicopter produced by the European Helicopter Company was climbing and approaching the top of Mount Everest with its propellers breaking through the flying snow. This helicopter cost tens of millions, and it was the helicopter that could climb the highest altitude at that time. This model of helicopter had successfully reached the summit of Mount Everest before, but because the summit was too rugged, it did not land successfully. Moreover, this helicopter was completely modified into a military helicopter and was equipped with the M134 minigun, which was known as the God of Artillery. This was the fastest machine gun in the world, and it was even equipped with a few rocket launchers. It could be said that it was fully armed. On the cabin of the helicopter, there was an image of two bloody skeletons with two black wings. If there were people from the world's dark organizations here, they would definitely exclaim in surprise, because this was the symbol of the famous Black Wings mercenary group in Southeast Asia. We're almost there, that's the catalyst spring water. This time, we must return with a full load. In the cabin, Oyila the heaven-reaching warrior, Ba-Tu the Black Wings, Tyson the giant elephant, and many other powerful mercenaries were sitting on the bench. They looked up at the summit of Mount Everest expectantly, like a money grubber who saw a pile of gold. Their eyes were burning with passion. At this time, Jiang Tian's divine sense had already scanned the area and found a cave on the mountainside of Mount Luo. This cave was surrounded by ice and snow, and white fog filled the air. Even a mystic enlightening realm cultivator would find it difficult to sense its existence. It is indeed a cave. The concealment array is not bad, but how can it hide from me? Jiang Tian flicked his finger repeatedly, causing numerous finger lights to shatter the ice and shatter the mountain rocks. After a wave of mist surged, it quietly dispersed, instantly revealing the true appearance of a stone cave. "This cave is so big!" Huaqing Tian exclaimed. The cave was located on top of a cliff. The entrance was more than 10 meters high and 5 meters wide. The cave was more than 100 meters deep, and it looked like a wild beast with its mouth wide open, ready to swallow them whole. Even though Huaqing Tian was a transcendent master, he felt small and powerless when he looked at the entrance of the cave. Jiang Tian and Huaqing Tian climbed the mountain rocks and stepped on the falling snow. After a few leaps, they arrived at the open platform at the entrance of the cave. This cave is not natural, it was cut by a sharp weapon. And the edge of the stone table was also cut by a sharp weapon. Standing at the entrance of the cave, Huaqing Tian found that the entrance of the cave was very smooth, and the ground inside the cave was also very smooth. It was not paved with stone bricks, and it made his heart skip a beat. Using a sharp weapon to cut open such a big hole was difficult even with modern technology, let alone the technologically backward Ming dynasty. This showed how powerful the golden-eyed battle ape was. An Earth-level demonic immortal could break a mountain with one palm and swallow a lake with one mouth, let alone open a cave. Jiang Tian walked into the cave with his hands behind his back and scanned the surroundings. The four walls of the main hall were carved with intricate reliefs. Most of them depicted gods, demons, monsters, and monsters in myths and legends. Between the reliefs were inlaid jade stones and pearls, making the whole hall as bright as day. Under the illumination of the pearls, the lifelike reliefs seemed to have souls that were trying to break out of the walls. Below the ground was a vast expanse of whiteness. Upon closer inspection, there were hundreds of skeletons. Some of the bones had been completely crushed, and when the wind blew in, a cloud of dust rose into the air. A wave of yin qi permeated the cave. In the middle of the skeletons was a dried-up blood pool. The four walls of the pool were dark red and eerie. It gave off a chilling air, as if there were ghosts floating above it. Upon closer inspection, the stone table, stone chairs, and stone walls were covered with sword marks. It was clear that a great battle had taken place here. Are these the remains of the golden-eyed battle ape? Hua Qingtian's heart was already pounding when he saw these. He suddenly exclaimed and pointed to the side of the ancient cave. On a stone platform against the north wall of the cave, a giant ape more than 2.5 meters tall stood upright. It was covered in red fur and wore a golden armor. It wore a pair of black boots and a jade belt around its waist. It held an iron-gray iron staff in its hand. It bared its teeth and looked up at the sky. Its golden eyes were still angry and seemed to contain endless resentment and murderous intent. Dead but not fallen. His power still exists. Such a monstrous pressure emanating from a dead person is really shocking. Hua Qingtian's face was shocked. His eyes were wide open as he looked up at the ape's face. He felt very depressed. Even after hundreds of years, the ape still had a peerless, domineering aura. It looked disdainfully at the world, making it seem like a demon god that suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This kind of domineering aura made Hua Qingtian breathless and frightened. It seems that the cultivation resources in the ruins of immortality are indeed extraordinary. It can even become an immortal through demon cultivation. Jiang Tian also sighed. He found that there were large words inscribed below the platform. My name is the Sacred Battle Ape. I became an immortal through demon cultivation and was not tolerated by the world. Sigh. A demon had a brother who was trapped in a group of enemies. I fought back with my severely injured body. I defeated 3 immortals with my staff, but I was powerless and died together with them. My body is hidden in the demon cave of Nirvana. I am ashamed and sealed here. Regretful. Regretful. The line of words was vigorous and powerful, like dragons flying and phoenixes dancing. However, it also exuded a sorrowful aura. It moved one's soul and made one feel emotional. I see. Jiang Tian was also slightly moved. He said with deep emotion, it is 10 times or 100 times more difficult to enter the Tao as a demon than ordinary people. However, this ape was heroic. Not only did he enter the Tao, he could even kill immortals. How rare. Yes, when he was alive, his divine power was unparalleled and indomitable. After death, his immortal body was immortal and stood upright. His monstrous domineering aura did not dissipate for hundreds of years. He was indeed a peerless hero who looked down on the world. Jiang Tian was still able to maintain his composure, but Hua Qingtian was practically screaming. He was quite shocked. He also secretly sighed. No wonder Yi Zhantian and the other powerful cultivators in Huaxia liked to cultivate in seclusion and did not care about the world. Compared to such a powerful force, what was the fame and wealth of the mortal world? At this time, Jiang Tian began to scan the ape's body with his divine sense. His divine sense penetrated the monstrous demonic aura and pressure. Jiang Tian brushed the hair on his head aside and saw a sword hilt deeply embedded in his neck. A flying sword! Jiang Tian exclaimed. Jiang Tian slowly pulled out the sword. He saw that the sword was completely black and exuded a strange light. The light was cold and intimidating, and it was very heavy. Jiang Tian was shocked again. It's made of immortal tier black gold. This was definitely a flying sword. It was just that too much time had passed, and there was very little mana and spirituality left. However, immortal tier black gold was very rare even in outer space. It could be used to forge top-grade flying swords. No wonder this powerful ape demon was still killed by someone. He felt a surge of excitement. This trip was really worth it. The information provided by Gu Baixian was too important. The heavenly court. Suddenly, Jiang Tian was shocked again. He saw 2 small golden characters engraved on the sword hilt. It was very ancient and elegant. After seeing the copy of the ruins of immortality from his grandfather, he learned a lot of information about ancient characters. Although he could not decipher and recognize the characters on the copy, he could definitely recognize the golden characters. The Heavenly Court? What organization or person is this? Master Kong, could it be the Heavenly Court in the myths and legends? Huaqing Tian was very shocked. What he saw today had completely shattered his worldview. Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not think of a reason no matter how hard he racked his brain. Jiang Tian was speechless. You ask me, but who should I ask? Jiang Tian was very proficient in cultivation, but the problem was that he did not understand the cultivation world of Wuxia. When his master took him on the ancient path of the stars, they passed through the ruins of immortality and went straight into the depths of the universe. For his master, whose cultivation was already very high at that time, the ruins of immortality were not a challenge at all. Therefore, Jiang Tian knew nothing about the ruins of immortality. Chapter 268. Jiang Tian tossed the heavenly court sword to Huaqing Tian. He thought to himself, I'll erase the spiritual imprint on it and refine it into my own flying sword. My combat power will definitely multiply, and I'll be able to easily kill a half-step immortal state cultivator. Huaqing was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He hurriedly said, Thank you, Master Kong, for giving me this treasure. You sure know how to take advantage of me. Jiang Tian glared at him. I didn't say I'm giving you this sword. It's useless to give it to you. Hold it for me first. Oh, I'm so sorry, Master Kong. Huaqing was speechless. He was extremely embarrassed. You should have explained it clearly. You've made me happy for nothing. Then, Jiang Tian removed the metal rod and the golden armor. This metal rod was made of a strange metal called golden essence metal. Although it was not as good as the immortal tier black gold, it was far better than any weapon material on Earth. There were many defensive patterns carved on the golden armor. It was also a Dharma treasure, but too much time had passed, and its dharmic powers had been lost. However, when Jiang Tian removed the golden armor and metal rod, the sacred battle ape's skeleton seemed to have lost its support and instantly fell to the ground. It cracked and disintegrated, turning into white bones and dried-up body parts. Jiang Tian was not surprised by this. The sacred battle ape relied on the armor and the remaining dharmic powers in the metal rod to maintain its physical body. Without them, it would have been reduced to ashes. However, he sighed again in his heart. It was really inconvenient to not have a storage dharma artifact. There were not many things here, and Huaqing was almost unable to carry it all. Jiang Tian and Huaqing Tian searched carefully again. They did not find any concrete clues about the immortal ruins in this ancient cave or the sacred battle ape skeleton. However, at least now Jiang Tian could confirm that the immortal ruins were real, and not just a vague legend. It's time to catch the monkey. Jiang Tian said calmly. Yeah, where's the monkey you're looking for? Huaqing Tian looked around in confusion. Don't worry. Jiang Tian ignited the charcoal and placed it on the pressure cooker. After the water boiled, he removed the pit of the peach and threw the yak meat into the cooker together with the skin and meat. After that, Jiang Tian added more medicinal herbs. Instantly, it turned into a pot of black soup. That's disgusting. Are we going to eat that? Huaqing Tian was puzzled. Everyone says that Master Kong is a wife-doting demon. Your culinary skills don't seem to be too good. Is this edible? Jiang Tian ignored him, but strangely enough, although the broth was ugly, there was a strong aroma coming from it. It immediately made Huaqing Tian salivate, and his fingers itched. It's disgusting, but I also want to eat it. This feeling was truly ecstatic. Huaqing Tian didn't dare to look anymore. It's not for us to eat. Let's lure the demon monkey's descendant first. It'll be of great use later. Jiang Tian used his divine sense to transmit his voice. He also cast a talisman into the peach broth and said, Put on the golden armor and pretend to be asleep. Huh, it has descendants? Huaqing Tian was stunned. He felt like he had been tricked. Why did it seem like he had become the bait? As expected, Jiang Tian restrained his aura and cast an invisibility talisman on himself. He instantly disappeared. As expected, I've become the bait. Huqingnan wanted to cry, but no tears came out. However, he still obediently put on the golden armor and closed his eyes. The broth rippled with the fragrance. The ancient cave was quiet. Only the whistling of the wind outside the cave and Huqingtian's own rapid heartbeat could be heard. After 2 hours, there was a thump, 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 footsteps that were as intimidating as muffled thunder, and a wave of bloody aura assaulted their faces. Huqingtian was alarmed. He opened his eyes a little and almost screamed in fright before suffocating. He saw a 3-meter-tall giant red ape glaring at him with its golden eyes. Then, its venomous gaze swept across the naked sacred battle ape's corpse and landed on his armor and the iron staff in his hand. The giant ape was like a demon god. Its eyes shot out rays of sharp golden light, and its body was surrounded by a demonic aura. Its aura was terrifying. The demonic aura was so dense that even a drop of it could crush an internal force master. Suddenly, its face twisted. It bared its fangs and roared. It was like a cat catching a mouse. Its huge, fan-like palm covered in red fur grabbed at Huqingtian. "Master Kong, come out and fight the monster." Huqingtian stomped on the ground and shot out while screaming for help. It could be said that he had never felt such a terrifying sense of danger even when he was fighting against Lin Zhenyu. Dazzling sparks flew. The descendant of the battle ape's claws scratched Huqingtian's stomach, leaving deep marks on the hard stone wall. If it had clawed Huqingtian, he would have been seriously injured, if not killed on the spot. "Get out of the way!" Jiang Tian suddenly appeared behind the descendant of the battle ape. He waved his fingers and a demonic flame chi weapon swept toward the ape like a knife cutting through water. Bang! With a loud sound, the giant ape was immediately sent flying by Jiang Tian's sword strike, causing the ground to shake and the mountains to shake as it fell flat on its back. The giant ape got up and charged at Jiang Tian again. "I will kill you if you don't stop." Jiang Tian let out a cold snort and slammed down with his palm again, directly slamming the body that was as heavy as a mountain into the ground. His knees smashed into the ground, shattering the rocks and creating a deep pit with a radius of 1 meter. Jiang Tian was amazed by the power of the battle ape. Although the descendant of the battle ape was small in size, it was a true primordial demonic beast. Moreover, it was an untainted demonic beast. It could not be compared to the white ape that Jiang Tian had killed in search of the life crystal. It was even 10 times or 100 times stronger. Jiang Tian knew that the ape's body was strong, so he used all of his strength. Even a transcendent state cultivator would have been smashed into pieces, but the attack didn't hurt the ape at all. Even the Li Fire Chi weapon didn't injure it severely. Moreover, the ape had cultivated demon arts and was able to transform. Its combat power was equal to that of a grandmaster in the martial arts world. The ape roared and attacked again and again. Its combat power was monstrous. It punched and kicked, shattering the stone table and shaking the mountain. However, it couldn't hurt Jiang Tian at all. Jiang Tian countered every attack. The ape either knelt on the ground or flew away. In the end, the ape was so tired that it couldn't get up. Jiang Tian beat it until it was full of injuries. It knew that it was no match for Jiang Tian, so it didn't fight back. It sat on the ground and wiped its tears. It looked at the corpse of the battle's sacred ape with sadness and regret. Yes, it was very sad. Its expression was as vivid as a human's. As it cried, it moved forward and hugged the head of the battle's sacred ape, kissing and touching it. Tears rolled down its face. It looked up to the sky and pounded its chest, letting out a heart-wrenching cry. "The ape seems to be very sad." Huqingtian came over and said sympathetically, "Well, it probably thought that its ancestor wasn't dead yet." Jiang Tian smiled. This ape should have 100 years of cultivation. It wasn't as old as the red-eyed white ape, but it had already gained intelligence. Then, Jiang Tian looked at the descendant of the battle's sacred ape and said calmly, "Your ancestor has been dead for a long time. What's the use of you guarding it here?" The ape looked at Jiang Tian and became even sadder. It hugged the corpse and cried again. All right. Look at you. You're so hungry. Hurry up and eat some yak meat." Jiang Tian threw a big piece of yak meat to it. As if it felt Jiang Tian's kindness, it took the yak meat and ate it. However, it still cried sadly. There seems to be something in your stomach? Jiang Tian frowned when he saw that there was a bulge in its stomach. There were stitches on it and pus was oozing out of it. The ape pointed at the sacred battle ape's corpse and then at its own stomach, making a sewing motion. Oh, I understand. Do you want me to help you take out the thing inside and treat the wound? Jiang Tian said with a smile. He had already understood something after using his divine sense. Woo 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 woo. The ape's face was filled with gratitude and joy. It pursed its lips and cheered. It kept kowtowing to Jiang Tian, seeming very willing to do so. Jiang Tian stepped forward and formed a qi weapon at his fingertips. He quickly peeled open the wound. There was a scroll made of animal skin inside. However, it was different from the words in the ruins of immortality that Jiang Tian had seen before. This is also a map. I don't know where it leads. Jiang Tian was not in a hurry. He let Wuxia Tian take it first. This is the 9 Swords Immortal's tomb. The ape suddenly spoke in a muffled human voice. Damn, you know how to talk. Jiang Tian smiled. Wuxia Tian was even more amazed. I'm not very good at it. There are very few Han people here. The ape struggled to speak again. 9 Swords Immortal. Old Hua, do you know who he is? Jiang Tian asked with a frown. I've never heard of him. He should be an ancient person. I'll look into it later. Wuxia Tian shook his head. Enemy. He killed my ancestor. My father asked me to dig up his tomb and take revenge. However, I don't know where he is. The ape said with a hint of resentment. Fuck, you sacred battle apes are really daring. Very vicious. I like it. Jiang Tian praised. He took out a detoxification pill and crushed it. He mixed it with healing powder and sprinkled it on the wound. Then he threaded a needle and stitched it up. At this moment, he already had some understanding. It seemed that the 9 Swords Immortal was from the heavenly court. He should be the culprit who killed the battle's sacred apes. You're so nice. The ape looked at Jiang Tian gratefully with tears in its eyes. Affectionate. The ancient scroll in its stomach had tortured it for too long. Now that the pain was gone, it felt extremely relaxed and comfortable. Naturally, it was grateful to Jiang Tian. Don't look at me with such affectionate eyes. I'm scared. Jiang Tian glanced at it from the corner of his eyes. The ape was confused for a moment. Suddenly, it pointed at a red object and shook its head firmly. Ha! Wuxia Tian laughed so hard that tears almost came out of his eyes. Fuck you! Jiang Tian was speechless. After treating the wound, Jiang Tian slowly said, If you want to thank me, then help me get the Empress flower. Is that okay? The ape bowed and nodded repeatedly. You're a beginner demon. You should be able to transform, right? Jiang Tian asked. The ape nodded again. Jiang Tian took off his down jacket and said, Shrink it and let me wear it. What do you think you look like when you walk around with your penis swinging around every day? The ape cast a spell and its body shrunk, turning into a small monkey the height of an adult's calf. After it was wrapped in a red down jacket, it no longer looked ferocious. Instead, it looked smart and cute, and it even looked comical. Chapter 269. Do you have a name? Jiang Tian asked. The little monkey spoke and gestured. It said that it was the 4th-generation descendant of the sacred battle ape. It only had 100 years of lifespan and had never seen a living sacred battle ape. Not long after it was born, its parents died and it did not have a name. Its ancestor was called Qi Aoxing, and its grandfather was called Qi Luozi. Poor baby. You lost your mother when you were young. How about I call you Monkey King? Jiang Tian asked with a smile as he beckoned the monkey to jump onto his shoulder. Awesome. The little monkey bowed and nodded. It seemed that it liked the name very much. No, you are not a Monkey King yet. You are just a little demon. Let's call you Monkey King. Jiang Tian stroked its head and said seriously. Good, good, good. This name is mighty and domineering. The little monkey squatted on Jiang Tian's shoulder and rubbed its head against Jiang Tian's ear happily. Jiang Tian was very happy that he had successfully fooled the descendant of the sacred battle ape. He asked, "How is Brother Wei?" I have already used the satellite phone to tell him our GPS coordinates. He will be here soon," Hu Qingtian said. Sure enough, not long after, Wei Feilong flew over with a copper gong in his hand and asked, "Grandmaster Jiang, is this suitable?" Jiang Tian took the gong and held up a bowl of steaming meat soup. "I will go there alone. Don't show up. Even if you do, pretend that you don't know me." "Why?" The two of them did not understand. Treasures move people's hearts. Jiang Tian sighed. This imperial ladyflower is a spiritual item of heaven and earth. It is a divine herb. Whoever gets their hands on it will bring about countless disasters. Why should I add to the trouble? The two of you are too famous. If people follow your clues, they will definitely find me. That makes sense. We will help Master Kong in the dark. The two of them immediately understood. I'm afraid that the people at the top of Mount Everest are busy fighting for the D-Maiden flower. Jiang Tian walked out of the cave and looked up at the peak of Mount Everest. He let out a long sigh and shot towards the peak of Mount Everest. At the top of Mount Everest, the area was so vast that one could not see the end of it at first glance. The mountain rocks were towering and precipitous, and the snow was falling like goose feathers. In the middle of a valley, there was a simple and crude temple. The walls were made of mountain rocks, and the roof was covered with grass. There were only 3 small houses and a small courtyard. However, unlike other places, this place actually had a suitable temperature that was like a bright and beautiful spring day. Flowing springs gurgled, fragrant grass swayed, and there were even wild rabbits and deer running about within it. It had a circumference of 4 to 5 kilometers, and it was like a paradise of immortals. There were 3 men standing at the entrance of the small temple. One was an old monk in yellow robes, the other was a middle-aged man in white robes, and the last one was barefooted. This poor monk has been guarding this princess flower for more than 10 years. It's about to mature. Let's see who dares to snatch it from me. The old monk in yellow robes was Guru Qing Lian, the most eminent monk in India. He was wearing a kasaya and holding a purple-gold Buddhist staff in his right hand. His aura was surging like the ocean, and his face was ferocious. Clearly, he was not someone to be trifled with. Guru Qing Lian, the princess flower is about to mature tonight. If you can't break the seal, you won't be able to get it. The man in white robes had tanned skin and firm muscles, but he gave people a sense of flexibility and flexibility. I heard that many overlords are coming to snatch it. Why don't the 3 of us work together to break the seal and share it? Singh, you are already the most famous yoga guru in India. You are almost an immortal state cultivator in Wuxia. I didn't expect that you would also want to get your hands on the princess flower. Guru Qinglian's eyes flashed coldly. Far from it. Singh meant lion in Indian. His eyes shone brightly and his curly hair looked like a lion's mane. He looked extraordinarily powerful. Singh smiled and said, I heard that many overlords from the Diensong sect in Wuxia and the Chinese society in Singapore are coming to snatch it. If you work with us, you might be able to share it. But if you don't work with us, I'm afraid you won't get anything. That's right. Guru Qinglian, you have been guarding it for 10 years. How can you give it to an outsider? The man in gray said. He carried a shield on his back and a long blade in his hand. His clothes were also very strange. He was wearing an isosceles triangle sewn with cloth on his upper body and lower body, which looked like a pair of briefs. Large patches of shiny skin were exposed, and he was not afraid of the cold at all. He was an expert in the traditional Indian martial arts called Kalalipiat. The practitioners of this martial art were known as Gurukar. He was the most powerful martial arts master in India and was comparable to the grandmasters in Wuxia. As he spoke, a rumbling boom akin to muffled thunder erupted in the sky, and all of the natural phenomena from before disappeared. The aurora-like 5-colored light receded, and the imperial maiden flower in the spring swayed before releasing bursts of red light. as if a Buddha had descended upon this world. The three of them widened their eyes and trembled with excitement. The princess flower was finally going to ripen. Whoever got it would be able to enter the immortal state and become the most powerful person in the world. He would be immortal and thousands of sects in the world would have to bow down to him. The princess flower was filled with red clouds and thousands of colorful lights. Rays of spirit qi like the first blooming of Hongmeng filled the air. It made the three of them feel refreshed. The spirit qi and the light formed the shape of a red phoenix. It spread its wings and was about to take flight. Lord Buddha, God has eyes. The princess flower has finally ripened. Master Qing Lian put his palms together devoutly and chanted the name of Buddha. He was so excited that tears streamed down his face. This is the most precious treasure in the world. It's all mine. It's all mine. Sing's eyes were full of excitement and his body was trembling. He could not wait to rush over and take it for himself. What are you waiting for? Let's break the restriction and get it together. The man in gray was excited and rubbed his palms. At this moment, several figures in Taoist robes flew over and stopped the three of them. Wang Haitao, who was the leader, sneered, "Ha, Master Qing Lian, this magic herb is located at the north foot of Mount Everest. It belongs to Huaxia. How can it fall into your hands? Let's go quickly before we start a massacre." "For you?" Master Qing Lian asked coldly in broken Chinese. "I'm Wang Haitao, the first disciple of the Diansong faction in Wuliang Mountain." Wang Haitao smiled. At this moment, the top masters of the Diansong faction also rushed over. They all held the hilts of their swords and looked at the three masters of India cautiously. "Oh, this princess flower is originally a spiritual treasure of heaven and earth. If you want it, just take it." Master Qing Lian put his palms together and smiled kindly. "Is that so?" Wang Haitao frowned and thought to himself, "Is there something wrong with this?" However, when he saw the princess flower, he was also envious. He pointed at the handsome junior brother and said, "Peng Jipei, you go and get the flower." "Yes, senior brother." Peng Jipei was so excited that his face was flushed and his heart was beating wildly. Plucking the princess flower and giving it to master would be a great merit. Now it had fallen into his hands. As he spoke, his body swayed and he used the swimming dragon body movement skill of the Diansong faction. He rose into the air and flew toward the princess flower. In fact, he was also worried that the people of India might have set up traps or hidden weapons. That was why his feet did not touch the ground. He flew like a swallow in the water. His speed was extremely fast, his posture was beautiful, and his movements were flexible. In an instant, he crossed a distance of more than 10 meters and was only 3 meters away from the princess flower. Good. The people of Diansong faction cheered in unison. Even Wang Haitao nodded slightly in approval. Peng Jipei was only in his 20s, but he was also highly valued by Diansong faction. He was an elite disciple and already had the cultivation of advanced stage internal force. However, at this moment, a purple lightning bolt appeared out of nowhere and struck Peng Jipei's body like a purple python. Peng Jipei did not even have time to scream before he turned into a pile of ashes and fell into the grass and sprang. Hiss! Everyone from the Diansong sect sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their faces were pale and their hearts were pounding. The shock of seeing their former fellow disciple turn into a pile of ashes in an instant was unbearable. "Senior, isn't this too vicious?" Wang Haitao glared at Master Qing Lian and shouted, "Senior, if you want to give it to someone else, why did you set up a trap? Using schemes to kill people, is this the way of a monk?" No, this is not my array." Master Qing Lian put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. He smiled faintly and said, "Didn't your master tell you that the princess flower is a spiritual item of heaven and earth and has a natural restriction? It's just that I didn't expect it to be so powerful." "Brother Wang, you're too reckless." At this moment, another figure leaped over. It was an old man in a green robe with white hair and beard. He was very old, about 80 years old, but he was very domineering and arrogant. He looked at the world with disdain and arrogance. Moreover, his eyes were shining like divine lightning, and his tall body was extraordinarily mighty, just like a male lion or ferocious tiger. Senior Wu, you're here. Wang Haitao was slightly stunned, then he showed some respect and saluted. The old man was Wu Yingxiong, the overlord of the southwest. He was a transcendent grandmaster and was as famous as Huaqing Tian and Yi Wudao. He had been working hard for decades and had dominated the Yunnan Guizhou Plateau. Besides, he had a good relationship with many Gu sects in the southwest, which made him very difficult to deal with. Dian-Song was a semi-hidden sect, so the sect leader of Dian-Song had the right to ignore Wu Yingxiong. However, Wang Haitao was only an initial success transcendent state cultivator. Haitao, don't be in such a hurry. First, there is the restriction. Second, there are enemies outside. Let's work together. Wu Yingxiong strode over, completely ignoring Wang Haitao. Even Grand Scholar Qing Lian was disdainful. He then gestured at the two young men behind him and said, "Young Lording, young Magus God, please take a look." Silent Shadow, the young sect leader of the House of Shadow Blight. Young Magus God, the young sect leader of the Ghost Magi sect. The people of Dian-Song were all secretly shocked. They looked at each other and revealed expressions of dread. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.